today's show comes from Squarespace. Whether you need a portfolio to showcase your work, a store to sell your products and services, or a blog to share your ideas, Squarespace gives you everything you need to make your next move into a reality. Not to mention, with Squarespace's beautifully designed templates and customizable features, creating a beautiful website is a simple and intuitive process. Simply add and arrange your content with the click of a mouse. Start your free trial today at squarespace.com and use the offer code TEST to get 10% off your first purchase.
Hey, let's start the show.
For Thursday, June 1st, 2017. Welcome to This Is Only a Test, the official podcast of Tested.com.
Right.
Look at that fucking squirrel on my bird feeder.
And then suddenly, the Enterprise D's bridge.
That intro has never been more appropriate.
I want to be back on the Enterprise D's bridge right now.
The Enterprise D or the Aegis?
Look, all I want to do is point at some stars and say engage, and then fire full photon torpedo spread.
If we'll get to the recap of our activities last night aboard the Aegis soon, but welcome to the first norm-free podcast of 2017.
That's true.
Thank goodness. I miss him so much.
Where is Norm, Kishore?
Well, let's say hello to our co-host before we talk about Norm anymore. Jeremy Williams, how are you doing?
How are you? I'm doing well. Thank you, Captain.
And Ensign Will Smith is here.
Ensign! Look, there's video proof that I was the superior captain on that stream.
There's video
night.
proof that you were a captain.
I had it in character. I called you Mr. Sulu, Jeremy.
You called everybody Khan. I don't know what you're talking about.
Khan is the one on the left. Tactical is the one on the right.
Talking about.
Look, it was my first day in Starfleet training. Those names are really confusing. When it came to shooting phasers, though, number one right here.
Yeah, you were the first to empty the photon torpedo bank.
I think I was the only one to empty the photon torpedo banks. Star Trek Bridge Crew is really, really good.
We'll get
there.
to our recap of Star Trek Bridge Crew soon, but Norm is away honeymooning somewhere.
South of France, I think.
South of France, really?
He's in Paris.
All I know is I have his dog.
Oh, how's Ripley doing?
She's had an emotional roller coaster.
Oh,
She was very excited because I have a dog too. So but my dog is older and grumpy, and her capacity for play is about 5% of what Ripley's capacity for play is. So Ripley wants to play basically anytime she's conscious, and Chloe wants to play for 5 or 6 minutes a day.
Oh.
There's been a little bit of conflict around that, but we're getting there. We had a real scary moment this morning, though, because Ripley doesn't wait at doors. Like, Chloe knows not to cross the threshold without being invited. And when you have a 4-year-old and a small dog, the door opened and Ripley shot out, and luckily I had treats in my pocket from last night when we went on a walk, and I was able to lure her back into the house.
But you live out in the boonies. You
I live in the
Pacific.
suburbs. It's a busy street. I live in a busy suburb street.
I don't believe
There's
that.
coyotes and mountain lions. I saw a bobcat in my backyard once.
Wow.
Yeah, and we have feral raccoons. As
Play
has been
with
well
that, Ripley.
established. Yeah. So
The Ripley versus Bobcat stream would do well.
that would not be good for Ripley. She's a small dog.
So how long do you have Ripley?
I have her until next Monday. So six more days.
And then where does Ripley go from there?
Well,
Goes to
we're just letting her loose into the ether.
Ripley
think she's-
versus Bobcat.
There's
That's
another
right.
tested member
she
who will
going-
have Ripley.
Oh, it's not you next. It's
No.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. So there we go. That's the Ripley report. She's very cute. We take a lot of pictures.
Oh.
She's very snuggly.
Is everyone loaded up on their Kofefe to get going on this podcast?
I've got
today?
all. I've peak Kofefe was last night while we were on the bridge of the Aegis.
I love missing an entire
Aegis.
internet meme. It went up and crashed before we got out of that gate.
I turned on the internet when we got out of there, and I was like, "What? I don't understand what's happening. Are we in another? Is this like the blue and black dress, white and gold dress day, where if you missed the first 10 minutes of that, you were just lost for
Right.
the rest of the day?"
It pretty much was that.
Yeah.
How have you guys been doing, though?
Oh, I'm doing all right. I went camping last weekend.
What?
Yeah, I know. I don't do that. We went with my kids' school. We had a group that went down to Pinnacles, which is a.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if
Pinnacles
it-
National
I don't know
Monument.
where
You know
Pinnacles
about
is.
this? Yeah. Did Obama make it a national monument?
No.
No, it was already one.
Thanks, Obama.
I was going to say thanks, Obama. But we had a fine time. You know, it was a 3-hour, 2.5-hour ride down south, and had a beautiful time.
These are the natural talus caves where rocks collapse onto each other, forming caves.
If you go hiking, you see this. I did not see this.
Wait,
But
you went camping and didn't go hiking into the
I have
Pinnacles
a
part of
I have a
Pinnacles?
7-year-old who doesn't like to walk to the end of the block. Now, I'd love to go hiking, and we'll do that eventually. I will say that we did see some condors, though. And that's pretty awesome. We saw them,
California condors?
yeah, just sitting on a fence.
You know, at one point there were only like 6 of those left.
Exactly. Yeah, they brought a pair down to
Wow.
Pinnacles, and they mated, but apparently it takes 6 years for them to
To make an egg?
reproduce.
Wow, really?
And yeah, but it was quite beautiful, and I got to see the stars, which you don't see here in the city.
Yeah.
No, you don't even see those in Pacifica.
Speaking of condors, I tried a little flight of my own this past weekend. I went to one of those indoor skydiving.
Oh, I've done
Dude,
that.
I saw the picture.
Yeah,
your son went skydiving
My-
indoors.
My son is 6, and basically you get outfitted in this like jumpsuit and helmet and glasses, and you go basically inside this small glass enclosure where it's you and an instructor, and there's a giant turbine fan
It's like a
underneath you that
DC-10
spins up.
engine or something, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And like it spins up and you go flying up in the air, and there's all sorts of, different configurations you can have of yourself that allow you to fly around. I was pretty psyched when the Green Ranger, the actor that played the Green Ranger, did the intro video.
What?
Yeah, I knew I was in for it. Actually, the other celebrity sighting that was there is Lars Ulrich from Metallica happened to be there while I
The
was
drummer.
there. The drummer from Metallica.
Enemy of the MP3.
That's
Yeah, exactly. We
Champion of DRM. Enemy of the people.
but his kids seem really into flying, though, I will say.
Wait a minute. So someone stands in there with the flyer, right?
Yeah, there's an instructor in there for your first
Are
class.
they just a heavy person? How are they not flying too?
Well, because you can just be in a standing position, and
Oh,
the
and that-
aerodynamics
I
don't
gotcha.
take you up.
That's interesting.
But my kid was just like flying around, and he whipped up and down. It was pretty incredible.
How much does that cost?
It was like $100 for like 4 flights. That's not that
That's
much.
not too bad.
I mean, that's safer than skydiving. And if you want that sensation, that's the way to do it.
It is safer than skydiving.
So, okay. So I
it
did
was
this.
pretty cool for
I-
something
yeah.
to do.
I did
You've
this
done
in
this?
Gatlinburg when I was probably 20 years ago. Like when this was a new thing. At Flyaway is what the place was called. I think they've gone out of business 3 or 4 times. The guy that was in the place with me didn't have very many teeth left.
Okay. Is that a Tennessee
Not a Tennessee
thing?
joke. He had
Okay.
had some
Are you
incidents
sure?
smashing into the walls when he was, I assume, screwing around. But he was the originator of if I ever get sucked out of an airplane while I'm in mid-flight, I'm going to try to do a swoop at the end. Because he was wearing just a pair of jeans and a T-shirt, and he was able to poof out the edges of the T-shirt to get squirrel suity enough that he could get enough lift to get up in the air without the puffy skydiving suit on.
So this guy was wearing a T-shirt and jeans
Like a white T-shirt and a pair of dungarees. Yes, sir.
in the
In the tunnel.
and you got in with him.
I
Are
was-
you sure
I
he
was-
worked there?
I was 16 years old.
Are you sure he worked
Look,
there?
do you remember what it was like to be 16 years old?
Yeah, you're invulnerable.
You're not going to say no to any kind of. Somebody was pushing the throttle on the engine, so I assume that somebody knew he was in charge.
All right. How
He
many
knew what he was
vans
doing.
did you get into as a child?
Not vans weren't really popular when I was a
Okay,
kid.
fair enough.
Did you do it?
I did not, only because
What?
My niece was in town,
Oh.
and so the two of them did it together, and it worked out timing wise just to have the two of them go instead of doing like a package of 4 with my wife.
Right.
But I'm totally sold. I want to go back
Okay, me too.
and do it again. It was totally worth it.
It's pretty fun.
All right.
Did he tumble and stuff? Did you do like head over
He
heels?
did tricks.
Okay.
Like the instructor did tricks. And by the way, the instructor at my thing looked like superior man. Like he was pretty and in shape.
Ripped.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
totally ripped. And like I was like, oh, I feel insecure now. But he had all of his teeth.
I regret sharing the story already.
Part of being superior.
I'm going to get a grief from my Tennessee people. I'm going to get grief from you. I'm going to get grief from everybody.
Well, I think on that note, we go into pop culture.
Oh, sure.
Dun, 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 dun.
We have a major movie coming out tomorrow night. Well, tonight, as this podcast airs.
I haven't been this excited about a DC movie in forever.
There's a DC movie?
Yeah, we're talking about the wonder of Wonder Woman.
Oh, I'm not allowed to see that because I'm a man.
Wonder Woman.
You're not allowed. That's
right.
That's
There's
right.
no men at the screenings
Yeah.
of Wonder Woman.
No
I
grief
thought.
for you. No grief
Yeah.
for you, certainly.
What's cool on this one?
What's amazing
It's a good joke.
is I saw a male-only screening of Guardians of the Galaxy the other night.
Shut up.
That was pretty incredible.
You're kidding.
I'm not kidding.
What's the punchline?
Well, I was the only one in the theater.
Yeah. Oh, waka waka.
Yeah, thank
I
you.
mean,
Fozzie
it was
Bear.
still pretty good, though, I have to say.
Yeah. So
I-
you're not kidding. There are female-only screenings of Wonder Woman.
At the Alamo Drafthouse. This
Yeah.
was announced, like a week or two ago.
It was like that was like 3 days ago. You're getting Donald Trump
Covfefe.
time compression.
Was it really only 3 days
It was
ago?
Saturday or something. Yeah.
And so the Alamo Drafthouse, New York, I think, was the first one to announce a female-only screening of Wonder Woman. I think it was just one of the
They had
screenings.
one screening.
One screening.
in a small theater
Yeah.
with like 35 seats for the ladies.
It reminds me of that town in Breath of the Wild. That
Oh, the Gerudo town.
where only women are allowed inside. And when you try to hop the fence, you get kicked out. So all you have to do is dress up like a woman, and they're completely fooled. I bet you could have done that.
Is this your advice for the current situation?
Yeah, I think you could have gotten in there.
I don't think this is good advice.
I think this is terrible advice. And I think we don't edit this podcast. I may edit that out. As a piece
You
of
don't
advice.
edit anything.
Yeah, this is true. This is dumb, right? Can we just
Well, hold on. It's important to state which part of it you feel is dumb.
Yeah, what's dumb?
Kishore.
Well, I think Jeremy dressing up as a woman to get into a Wonder Woman screening is
definitely
exceedingly dumb.
Yeah, that's a high bar.
Well, so the women-only screening, not that big of a deal.
Well,
People getting on rage quit level of annihilation of Wonder Woman because there is a female-only screening is ridiculous to me.
so yeah. I mean, look, having the woman-only screening of Wonder Woman is actually a big deal for the women.
Yeah,
Like, that's an okay thing. I think that's
Yeah.
a cool thing for them to do. It literally hurts no one because there will be 55 million other screenings that will accept mixed genders. And a fair number of those will likely, as you pointed out, probably be male-only screenings just because of the nature of comic book movies. So, like, what's the big deal?
I thought it was no big deal. They started getting trolls on their Facebook page,
Which encouraged them.
which encouraged Alamo Drafthouse to run more of these at
Yeah.
Alamo Drafthouse around the country. More power to them.
Yep.
I just don't think it's that big of a deal.
Mhm.
I mean, my reaction to it mostly was like, "Meh, that
Yeah.
sounds fine."
Especially when you can sneak in.
Why?
What
Why?
are you doing?
Why do you have to take this away?
Take what away?
Let people have their thing.
Absolutely.
You don't
I'm-
have to
I'm
steal
with
it
you
by
on-
dressing up as Wonder Woman. And
No,
going
I'm
to the
with you on
screening.
this. I'm just saying, if you're desperate to see the movie and you
Yeah.
see this showing, you know there are ways around these
Jeremy,
rules.
You should dress up
Jeremy.
like Wonder Woman. For
Yes,
this screening,
you could
Jeremy.
just dress up like Wonder Woman for any screening.
I wonder they might let me in.
They'd let you in. They're not going to bounce you.
Have you?
Use your phone though, and the fucking stormtroopers will come down on you.
Ooh. Have you
Yeah,
looked at
that's
some
true.
of the early reviews?
It
They're-
seems
They're
positive
all good.
what I've seen.
That's why we're excited
It
about
seems very positive, like scary positive.
Well, I'm really interested in a movie that looks like a Zack Snyder movie that Zack Snyder had nothing to do with.
So I only read one review because I'm loath to read too many reviews, set my expectation
Yeah.
too high. But the first line of the review is like, and we got a new character in the DCEU, the sun. We finally saw sunlight in some of these movies, and I was like, oh, I'm sold.
Is that a thing?
Well, because Zack Snyder never puts any sun in any of those movies. It's all always super, 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 super dark. And so, I don't know. I'm all for a relentlessly positive superhero movie. Are you guys going to go see it? I mean, we know Jeremy's going to go see it in a Wonder Woman outfit.
I'm gonna see it. I don't know. I don't know when I'm gonna see it.
Oh, I'm definitely going to see it this weekend.
Yeah.
This is like, I feel I'm ready for a really, really good DC comic book movie,
Yeah. Me too.
which hasn't happened since what, Dark Knight?
It's funny because like when I was a kid, DC was the franchise, was the comic franchise that I was into, like Batman, Superman, The Flash.
They have the best characters.
I mean, I thought that for a long time, and maybe Stan Lee's making them flawed characters rather than all, the richest, the most powerful, the most arrowy, whatever it is, was the right choice.
The most arrowy.
Green Arrow. He's only got one arm, but he can still shoot a bow and arrow. I don't know how that works.
When does he have one arm? I thought it's his protege has one arm.
I'm not Green Arrow was my least favorite of the DC, including Aquaman. So
Aquaman's kind of a badass in the comic books, actually.
I-
The Super Friends really ruined Aquaman
watched-
for a whole generation.
yeah, I watched enough Super Friends to know that I needed nothing to do with Aquaman.
I had his underoos.
Really?
Yeah.
Well,
Were they orange and blue?
I don't know.
It's pretty good.
Didn't see him much.
Yeah.
you guys catch anything on the Netflix this weekend? Because I saw something amazing.
I watched Archer season 7.
Ah, that is so good.
It's pretty amazing.
That is really good.
Yes.
Another theme season, which
Yes.
is ridiculous.
I like the theme seasons.
the theme seasons are weird.
I've never seen Archer. This was a good
Oh.
show.
Oh my god, Archer is you might not have the right sensibility for Archer,
Yeah,
Jeremy.
I don't think you know me that well.
I know you pretty well.
I think you can make that call.
Are we already at the "you don't know me" portion of the podcast?
He's made comments about me on podcasts before that were off the mark.
Okay.
I can tell you one thing I know about Archer is that
Okay.
the world's greatest pinball player made his own pinball machine based on Archer.
It's a pretty good franchise.
I mean, apparently people love this game.
It's
I mean,
the
show.
The setup is that it's a spy agency, a freelance spy agency, with the greatest living CIA agent in the world, or ex-CIA agent in the world, and a bunch of stooges,
Yeah.
basically.
He may have mommy issues.
He definitely, maybe a little bit. Um,
I'm a fan of Dr. Krieger, the scientist on the show.
that makes sense.
I may have cosplayed at Dragon Con as his imaginary anime wife
Really?
once.
That
Yeah.
was I have a picture of that actually.
So you have
The
dressed
internet-
up as a woman.
I've done that plenty of times.
Multiple times.
I'm not the one that suggested.
I've seen you in Rec Room.
Oh, we might need to move on. But please don't Google my image of me as
I'll post it. It'll be
Masuku.
if you can follow me on Twitter at
Oh no.
I did watch something on Netflix. It was Magnus. It was an excellent documentary about chess player, best chess player in the world, Magnus Carlsen. Yeah,
I love a good game documentary.
it's great. It's great. It's totally like they call him the Mozart of chess, and he just understands the chessboard in the way that a beautiful mind sees math. It's in patterns. He didn't have to learn to play chess. He just picked it up, and he didn't study it the way other people did. He didn't go to the chess camps and the chess schools and learn the history and all that. He just can play it. And he played a team of Harvard. I don't know if they were professors, but he played the game at Harvard against a bunch of chess people. He played the games blindfolded, and he played like 9 games simultaneously.
So he's just keeping the entire state of 9 different
All
boards
of
in
it.
his head.
And then at the end of the match, he actually wrote down all the moves for the game.
So
for one
he
of the
has
guys.
some sort of memory thing going on.
He has a
clearly.
memory
Cle-
thing. He does.
Yeah.
Please tell me he said, "How about them apples?" as he walked away from the game.
Enjoyed the movie. My whole family watched it. We loved it.
Time to get to work.
Why'd
That's
you
what
bring
he
up
said.
Netflix?
Oh, because I saw the Hassan Minaj special. And you know how Netflix has a new comedy special rolling out every week. It's hard to keep up. And I'm not that familiar with Hassan Minaj. He's, a correspondent for The Daily Show. He did the White House Correspondents' Dinner this year. But I wasn't so familiar with his stand-up. I kind of took a flyer on it. Basically was the story of my childhood.
Oh.
Retold on stage. And what was really interesting about it is that he would speak to camera. There was media in behind him. So it wasn't your traditional shot as a guy in a microphone stand-up special. There was actually a lot of variation to it, and it was surprisingly emotional. Don't get me wrong, this guy is not as talented as Chappelle and doesn't have those kinds of levels of insights. But in terms of just pure storytelling that was very sweet about an immigrant life coming to this country, assimilating and going beyond, and just really, touching tales of family dynamics, and just really hilarious at the same time, that couldn't be beat.
That's
That
awesome.
That was everything to me. So I highly recommend it. If you don't like the term white privilege, it may not be for you.
Homecoming King? Is that the
Yeah,
name?
Homecoming
Yeah.
King is what it's called. One last note on pop culture before we get into the tech news. Phoenix Comic-Con. Shit went down this weekend at
What?
Phoenix Comic-Con.
What happened?
So a gentleman came to Phoenix Comic-Con, tried to sneak in. The security caught him, and he didn't have prop weapons. He had real weapons.
What?
And he went through security.
He tried to sneak in, and the security caught him and then turned him
Jesus.
over to police. He had brought real weapons to kill police officers at the
What?
Comic-Con. and they went back to his home computer, and he had written basically an item on his calendar that he was coming to the Phoenix Comic-Con to kill the Green Ranger, the actor that played the Green Ranger. And he had made up this whole story about having a vendetta against him.
Jesus.
And so the con went on lockdown. They banned all props. They banned all, essentially cosplay got, toned down.
That's probably okay in
Which
this
is
context.
100% fine.
Yeah.
But it also brings up like these cons, which we've all been to now, the security at them as a huge public event. Are probably going to start approaching levels that we see at like sports stadiums and stuff.
So, like, if you're bringing prop weapons into Comic-Con now, even
Big
and
cons.
have been for a long time, then there's always a weapon stand where you have to go check in beforehand. They put some sort of basically a tag that's impossible to remove without destroying it. So, like a zip tie or something like that that has a label on it, and like it's very obvious when you see a weapon, whether it's a sword or a gun or whatever, that has that on it, that it's been checked to make sure that it's not real. The fact that somebody would try to sneak in with real guns, I'm sure that happens more often than we know about, but that's terrifying. It's not good.
And they had to have a whole press the Green Ranger had a press conference to talk about it.
The biggest thing that's happened to the Green Ranger in a good 15 years since that I Fly Away video.
Since the I Fly, promo video.
I've only been to the Silicon Valley Comic-Con, but security was pretty tight there.
Did you think that was tight? I don't think that's tight security.
Have you been to a baseball game lately?
No,
Yeah.
I mean, not in a couple of years.
Yeah,
baseball games have dogs sniffing the crowd before they come in now, before they go through the metal detectors.
and they search
a
your
pat
bag,
down.
they
Yeah.
pat you down, the whole thing.
I
Or
wonder if
wand
that's
you.
where we're going with cons, though. We can't be far away.
I mean, I think there's, as always, I mean, this is a tricky situation, right? Because there's a civil liberty issue, and there's is the reaction to the threat, does it outpace the actual magnitude of the threat? And like in this case, the system worked, right? Like the guy tried to sneak in with the guns, he bypassed the line where he knew he'd be checked, and he went in presumably the back door or loading dock or something like that, and security got him. So, I would argue, hey, good job, security. You guys did what you were supposed to do, and you protected the people there from that threat. So, I mean, if that's the case, why would we need to increase the hassle and have the civil liberties issues and all the problems that come with increased security at these types of events?
But that's not how this works. This works on a bit of fear. Like I'm concerned about safety of sending my kid to a con now.
I mean,
what are you doing to ensure safety?
If you look at the not to be a negative Nancy, but like cons and conventions, anytime you get to a larger than average concentration of people in a small space where they're there for a temporary reason, especially if there's alcohol involved, it is a more dangerous thing to go to than staying at home and watching reruns on Saturday night. And that multiplies if you're a minority, that multiplies if you're a woman. These are all, if you're a child, it's even worse. So, you have to go to these things knowing that there's a chance. You're at a thing that's a better target than average, and people have mental problems. We don't treat mental health like a disease in this country as we should, and everybody can get guns really easily. So it's a really delightful. The answer is probably to move to Denmark, to be frank.
As demonstrated by the events of this week, also, that's not a U.S. only issue.
Yeah.
We've seen that elsewhere. It's going to be just I think it's going to be an emerging issue over the next couple years.
I mean,
yes. of what this looks like, and that tension that you're talking about between how safe I feel, people cosplaying and really bringing out sort of every aspect of the way they inhabit those characters, and that tension with security, I think it's just going to become tighter and tighter and narrower and narrower.
I mean, that conversation ends with the people saying you can't wear masks at cons because they cover your face and make it difficult to identify a perpetrator if they do something bad.
I didn't mean it. On to the Echo. We are only a few weeks away from the new Echo coming out.
Wait, there's a new Echo coming out?
Yeah, you didn't see that? Yeah, the Echo Watch. What is it? Look?
No, the one that looks at your clothes and
No,
tells
no,
you
no.
what you should wear?
No.
Not the one that judges you.
The style.
Not
No.
Echo Judge.
The new one with the screen.
It has a screen.
Okay.
Yeah, you didn't see this?
I
Has
did.
built-in video conferencing,
Okay.
but only echo to echo.
You sound skeptical of it.
You didn't buy two?
I have a shameful number of Echoes in my house.
Yeah.
I currently have 4. So and I still bought one.
When the dots are available, when the dots go on sale, I need to buy like 3 more dots, basically the little baby one.
Mm-hmm.
I have a lot of ways to video conference right now. I'm pretty good.
Yeah, no, I'm all right too. I'm excited for the screen though, because my kids use the Echo constantly, and to get any kind of visual feedback on the questions they're asking about Wikipedia entries or spellings or things like that, math questions, it'd be great to have a little screen there.
See, my daughter just wants to play the Sing soundtrack over and over and over again.
Karaoke.
Yeah.
I think that's fine. I think in most rooms that I use it in, but in the kitchen, that visual interface I think is going to be vital because I use it for timers and recipes, and if it can actually do that interface well for those things,
called the Echo Show. Sorry,
I think it'll be great. I mean, I got one. Jeremy got 2. And where are you going to put the second one?
You get a good deal if you get 2. I'm going to put one on my desk. It's going to replace the one in my office, and the other one will go in the kitchen. Yeah.
Interesting.
Oh,
I'd like to have this Echo technology integrated in the next version of the game frame.
Well, you can. I'm working on Alexa compatibility with the game
Really?
frame, so you can control everything by you talking to it.
That's awesome.
It's actually pretty fun. But that's not why you brought up the Echo.
No, there's a new feature in Echo now that it can actually integrate with iCloud. And it's specifically the calendars in iCloud.
Is this part of the thawing between Amazon and Apple? We're like seeing some decrease in tensions, and détente is working.
I think you're probably right.
Because I mean, we heard the rumor that this summer we're going to see maybe at WWDC in a couple of weeks. We're going to get an Amazon Video app for the Apple TV.
Oh, really? That's the rumor.
That's why Apple TV ended up back on. On the Amazon store.
Yeah. And like, I didn't realize it, but to get Amazon Video on Android phones, you have to do some jiggery.
You do.
Yeah, it's pretty janky.
That's
frankly.
weird. That's unexpected.
Yeah,
You have to sideload an app.
you have to side. Well, they do it to make you sideload their black marketplace.
Their app store. Yeah.
What is it they call it? They call it the black marketplace, don't they?
No.
It's
It's the Amazon App Store, but
is that it? Okay.
But sure, we'll call it the black market.
Yeah, place.
I if that's what this represents as an additional thing, that's great.
Yeah, it's terrific. I don't know anybody who uses. I mean, I guess somebody does use iCloud for their calendar stuff. I guess
I'm
it's
sure
the
a lot
default,
of people
so
do.
most people do it.
Yeah.
Do you use it for the Google calendars right now, Jeremy?
No, I don't. We don't use it for any of the calendar stuff, actually.
I use it for calendar. It's terrific.
Yeah.
So I can say that's why I want to put a dot in my office, so I can say, Alexa, add an appointment at 10:00 on Wednesday.
Congratulations, listeners.
We try to avoid saying that word.
What, Alexa?
Yeah, that's the one.
You don't say, Alexa, Venmo Will Smith $20.
No.
Anything like that. That's a bad idea.
Try not to.
Okay,
All right.
that's not really me. It's just you're welcome, Will Smith. Venmo.
Will Smith keeps getting richer.
Yep.
New Nest Cam is out this week.
Yeah, well, that's kind of interesting because they haven't done anything in a while.
Why does it need quad cores, Kishore? What is
No,
it? What is it?
it's like they're trying to be best in class. So if you it's an interesting space because there isn't a great one yet.
But is it doing like visual? Is it doing visual
Yes.
machine learning stuff on the
Yes.
camera, presumably?
Yes. Well, I don't know about on the camera, but it is doing. It has a 4K sensor, but it only streams 1080p, and it uses all of that data
Okay.
in order to do digital zooming.
Oh, that's smart. That makes sense.
There you go. So and it also does recognize people and animals and pets and intruders, and it recognizes the sound of breaking glass and things like that, and it will alarm you and take a zoomed in picture of whatever it is, and then it will send that image to you.
Is that on the cloud or
Yeah,
we don't know?
I
We don't know if it's
know.
local or on the cloud.
There
Okay.
is you do have to subscribe to a service if you want to get a lot of these extra features.
Yeah.
So there's certainly some cloud aspect to it. But yeah, it's good to see them back in the game.
I wonder, we tried to use a Nest Cam, the first or second gen one, I can't remember which, for the baby monitor when the kiddo was born. And the latency, like the round trip latency from the camera to the internet and back to the phone was such that by the time we got the app loaded and the video connected and it like started streaming and all that, it was just easier to get up and walk over into the bedroom. So we got one of the direct analog, one of the Motorola digital ones.
Yeah.
Instead.
This way to do it.
But this seems like a good thing for your front door, maybe.
I just got the Logi Circle a couple months ago.
Yeah.
To put in my garage, and there was a number of people in the tested comments that came out and said, why aren't you just doing a wired camera? It's like underrated having a wired camera. And even though I have a
Like Ethernet wired?
yeah,
Okay.
even though I have a pretty extensive, pretty beefy Wi-Fi network, I still get drops on my on the camera, being in the garage because it's out of like the main living space. But the delay on it's only about a second or second and a half, so it hasn't been so bad. But that was under $100 that I got it for.
This is $300. So it's called the Nest Cam
No,
IQ.
Thank you.
Plus $10 per month if you want the subscription program, which will give you facial recognition for friends and family.
I can look at you. I recognize your face. I don't need the machine to tell me that.
but like the machine could send you a text message that
you're
says Gene is home.
You're paying Google. SmartThings does that already. It's free. Google's collecting data from your video camera, presumably, to make their computer smarter, and they're charging you $10 a month and $300 for the camera. No, thank you.
What
sir.
about for business though? Instead of like employee check in, check out.
Yeah, interesting.
It would have to tie into your payroll system because otherwise it's useless, and it has to be 100% accurate. Because if I have to go through and do, speaking as a businessman, if you have to go through, if it jacks up your payroll, that's a big pain in the ass.
All right. I'm trying to find something for this thing.
Do either of you have front doorbells with a camera on them?
No.
I don't.
I kind of want to get one of those.
I do, where it like rings through to your phone.
Yeah, so that then I know when not to open the door.
Yeah, I mean, all we have right now is the camera in our garage, and we have an intercom system because we live upstairs. But I've wanted one of those too, just because of like every now and again we get a UPS delivery when we're not around, and that's just enough of a pain in the ass that we've had enough packages stolen. But like most of those systems like are pretty expensive for the ones that you built in, or you have that one that's, I think it's called Ring. Right?
The Ring is the box that sits on top of where the old button used to go, basically. Like
have you priced it out? How much is it?
I think it's like $250, $300. It's somewhere between $200 and $300. It's fairly expensive. I'm interested in that as a category.
You think that'll be a big shift?
You're like smart home stuff.
My house is pretty smart. The front doorbell is not smart at all.
Have you gotten the Bluetooth deadbolt yet?
No, I'm pretty anti those actually.
Why?
Because you walk up to the front door of somebody's house and you yell, "Alexa, open the front door," and then the front door opens. Sorry.
You don't have to enable the skill.
Alexa, lock the front door.
You don't have to enable that skill, but I think the idea of it just being on your phone and it recognizing your proximity.
I'm curious about that.
Look, locks, traditional pin locks, we all know, really easy to open. They're a deterrent, right? They're not something that actually seals your house. The idea of having an internet connected lock on the front door of my house seems like it takes that already the bad deterrent of a traditional lock and makes it exposes it on so many more planes of vulnerability that it's not worth the risk.
But it's like anything else in this space where it's like the convenience factor of every single day you can open that door without any effort.
We still have a lock on the doorknob, so I'd have to unlock that too.
Oh, see, you got to get rid of that. It's just got to be easy access for you
probably a good choice.
Every day, and you'll probably never get broken into. Like, that's the trade-off.
I mean, that is one way to look at it.
Yeah.
For me, I like the idea of it. Like I can send specific keys to people for certain times, like cleaners, or I can even unlock the door for a delivery person.
Well, that's the same thing with his doorbell thing, right? Like if you could see who is at the door, potentially you could unlock it for them too.
Well, then you can just see who's there and talk to them. You can't actually do anything with that information.
I don't know.
But like I sometimes stay with a friend in LA when I'm there for just a night or two, and he has the smart doorbell and the smart lock and all that stuff. And basically, whether he's in town or not, if I'm coming, he's just like, yeah, here's your code this time. Just let me know when you leave the last time and I'll change the stuff over. And like, he doesn't have to be there to let me in and give me a key.
Which is awesome,
right? It's kind of nice. Like for me, a lot of the benefits of the smart lock and the smart doorbell are obviated by the fact that my living room and the front door are directly adjacent. So like if you wanted to stealth out and act like you're not really home when somebody comes to the door that you don't want to talk to, that's not really an option because the 4-year-old, the dogs, being able to mute the doorbell based on like whether I want the dog to flip out when it rings or not would be really useful.
Like according to Michael Moore, in Canada they don't even lock the doors. Right?
Where I grew up in Tennessee, we didn't lock doors.
And we grew up with keys under the doormat. Or maybe then like the advanced version was there was a fake rock with the key hidden in the rock.
You don't have a key stash outside your house someplace?
No.
Wow. What happens if you lock yourself out?
Well, that's not a problem for me.
Why not?
I'm not going to go into that.
Okay.
Game frame, unlock Jeremy's house.
But I'm just saying that we can take this too far, and you can become too crazy about your home security. And for the rest of generations behind us, they weren't that crazy about it. They were all right.
Do you have zombie-proof barriers on your ground floor windows? I'm just saying it's a thing you should think about.
I have a pretty secure house.
Your house is like you're a little bunkery. Like if things go down, I might be rolling to the Williams household.
Well, good luck getting in.
Well, I have a ladder.
I'm just gonna shout commands at the house and see until one opens up.
Okay, Google. Oh, sorry.
By the way, I can't get one of these because I have one of those older San Francisco houses, and the door frame has warped enough that the deadbolt will never work properly. The Bluetooth deadbolt. I have to like totally re-engineer the door because it shifts because of the earthquakes.
That's doable.
I had to when we moved into our house, we had to pull the whole frame out and put a new door in. It was an enormous
and it's
pain in the ass.
expensive.
Yeah, well, and we had to replace all the wood. It was bad. Don't do that. It's a bad idea.
So Nest Cam isn't the only way Google's becoming more intelligent. They also, as you know, have a very intelligent computer that wins Go games.
I heard it went away though.
And that the AlphaGo has retired from competitive
it retired?
play. Yeah.
Happy retirement.
Yeah.
It only played like 6 games.
No, dude, it played a lot of the games. It played 50 games 6 months ago. Online. We talked about this last week. Online against competitors anonymously.
What?
Yeah, and then it unveiled itself. Ha ha! I am AlphaGo.
So Will,
Why does it have a Russian accent, Jeremy?
I don't know. Just to be
It sounded
funny.
like Count Chocula a little bit there.
what was its screen name, Jeremy? You can guess if you want.
Sexy guy XXX 420.
Nope, that's mine.
Master.
Master?
Yeah.
That's
Not even
nightmarish, isn't it?
Jesus.
So the commentators for this last game against the champion, the former world champion, the champion human player, he constantly referred to AlphaGo as Master, which is creepy. It's a little creepy.
So what's going to happen is like anybody that the computer sees as a threat to it, those are going to be the first people on the list. If AlphaGo players around the world start dropping.
Oh, it's not called AlphaGo. It's called Go.
I mean, sorry, Go players, the best Go players around the world. If they suddenly start dying in unexplicable ways, like their self-driving car runs off a bridge, or their smart home turns on the garbage disposal while their hands down there fishing something out, like any kind of weird accidents.
Yeah,
That's the tip off. Head for the mountains.
What is it going to do in its retirement?
Well, so
it's going to travel a little bit, maybe go to Italy, have some good food.
Little things like find elusive cures for diseases.
Ah, okay.
According to Engadget, they conjure up ways to dramatically reduce energy consumption.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they're just going to turn off the power grid.
So I want to know how they make the leap to those things, though, because apparently the AlphaGo program is a very specific set of lessons that it's learned, and skills that it has in order to play the game of Go, and it doesn't do anything else. It doesn't do generalized abstractions. It doesn't figure things out like that. There are AIs that have figured out how to play old Atari games without any instructions. But that's not the case here, from what I understand.
Well, that's trial and error and machine vision too. So they're actually looking at the screen on the Atari game, and they're figuring out
what does what.
This number goes. They look for a number.
Exactly.
When the number goes up, they do the thing that made the number go up. That's
Right.
pretty simple.
Yeah.
A lot of the problem with machine learning stuff is getting a clean reference data set to teach it how to do the thing. So, for example, we use some machine learning to animate elbows in Foo. Which we trained by strapping Vive controllers on our lead dev's arm, upper arm, forearm, and chest, in addition to the one in his wrist. And then he was able to track how a normal human moves their arm, and what the machine extrapolates from that is if let's see, what is it? If the hand is in this position relative to your head, then your elbow is likely in one of these several positions, right? And it can kind of constrain the movement of the elbow to, rather than the point of least resistance, if the joint is frictionless, which is the way you model IK stuff, we constrain the elbow to a specific spot.
Does it just randomly pick one, or is it have all of those positions in mind?
When he was training the algorithm, he basically moved through all of the motions that he could come up with that you might do given his 25-year-old physique and like the fact that he's more bendy than say I am as a 42-year-old guy.
Okay, can we get back to finding cures to disease?
Yeah, the point is finding the data sets for that stuff is hard. There was an interesting thing a few weeks ago where they fed a bunch of cancer scans in, and they told the machine which ones were positive, which ones were negative, based on humans looking at them as well. And the machine had eventually a much better rate, or as good a rate as finding the spots that should be looked at closer.
Yeah.
Using the machine learning stuff.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
And apparently, like we talked about last week, the Go players have already learned from AlphaGo. They've already are now using its maneuvers in games that formerly were thought to be bad moves. And I would love for this to happen on the health front. That would be fantastic. And I wonder how they're going to make the leap from Go to much more generalized intelligence.
So I think we'll see the levels of specificity that we'll be able to look at are going to increase gradually over time. And it's going to be a very slow process as we figure out ways to get clean data, or alternately the machines get better at picking out the data from noisier signals.
Yeah.
I'm interested in the more esoteric stuff. Like, do you think Go and Watson get along? Do they see themselves as rivals?
Yeah. I mean, I would love to see
Frenemies? Like,
Right.
where are we come down
I don't
on
think they
this?
even know who each other. I mean, Watson probably
They
knows
know
about
who each other
AlphaGo
Yeah.
because Watson, has the Jeopardy answers. What is
Watson,
this supercomputer? Blah blah blah. Defeated 17 champions of Go, a previously unwinnable game. The difference is that AlphaGo, he has no time for Watson. It has no time for Watson.
Oh, so it's like the LASF thing. Like, LA
Yeah.
has no feelings.
What's the
towards-
LA?
Oh, ha ha.
Yeah.
We had a new phone unveiled this week.
I'm surprised you didn't put this first.
And I was kind of unimpressed by it. That's why it's sort of down.
Is that right?
But
Yeah.
it's essential.
The
Kishore.
That-
Andy Rubin phone came out
Oh, really?
called
Ooh.
Essential.
Well, the company's called Essential Incorporated,
Well,
which I think is brilliant because every time you talk about it, you're going to say the word essential.
yeah, but I don't like the phone that much.
So what's special about the phone?
It's a modular phone, which is interesting. It has basically, God damn it, I was saying essentially again. It basically has no bezel.
Yeah,
On
so
the phone.
Screen, it goes edge to edge, and it even goes around the camera on the front.
Yeah, which I
Interesting.
think looks funky.
I
You
mean,
like it?
I wonder. It's interesting. I mean, what is your resolution now? How do you map a video onto that screen? Things like that.
I don't
Yeah,
know
exactly.
why they had to they could have put the screen over it and just blank those pixels out when the camera's on.
Can
well,
they do that?
would obscure the lens, yeah, a little bit.
Was it an OLED screen or is it an LCD? It's probably an OLED.
Well, regardless, it would cloud the image a little bit.
Well, there'd be a grid if it was an LCD. I guess the backlight is the problem.
Well, it's strange. I mean, they're saying that the icons for connectivity and all fit up there, and aesthetically it'll work fine. It's just interesting. Like your resolution is no longer rectangular, and when you play a video, the UI or the operating system will have to step in and say, no, you can't use those pixels. It's weird.
They're shipping with like certain accessories that you can clip on. Will, just for you. They have a 360-degree camera.
Oh, I love 360 video. That's my favorite.
That's what's modular about it. It has these little pogo pins on it. So like
What are pogo
we think of
pins?
modular phones, and we think phones you take apart.
Yeah, like Lego.
Yeah, but that's not this. Like, it has these little terminals on it that with magnets behind them, so that you can sort of snap on this 360-degree camera
Huh.
onto the back of the phone using pogo pins, which are just pins with springs in them, so that they
Okay, so they
make-
latch in.
yeah, so that
Okay.
they make good
It's like
contact.
docking.
They're used in like PCB testing a lot.
Okay.
They're the things on the end of the on the back of the iPhone, like this little terminals behind the band.
Oh yeah.
That's meant for pogo
The
pins.
Apple Watch, you mean?
Yeah, sorry.
What do you think of the camera specs? Like the fact that it has like dual sensors to take in more light.
It's great. Aren't they using dual? They're doing the same thing Apple's doing in terms of having two sensors, but instead of using one to create the bokeh of the blurry
The
depth of field,
Yeah,
they're using it to do better low light photography, which I
Huh.
think is probably more useful.
that's interesting.
I don't know. I feel like that portrait mode has been a big selling point to a
I-
certain part of the market.
I use the janky version of that on my Pixel. even.
Yes, I do too.
Yeah.
Oh, that Pixel does that?
Yeah.
It
you,
has a
you
blur
take a
feature.
picture and then you tilt the camera up like 3 degrees.
Really?
And here, keep talking.
Well, it's expensive. It's $700.
That's not expensive.
That's not
The
that's
essential
the same
Pixel
price.
was way more than that.
That's the same price as all the flagship.
Is it
phones.
big?
Yeah. Yeah. How big is it, Kishore?
I don't remember.
Well, it's got all the fixings. It's got the Qualcomm 835 processor,
Which is the same processor that's in the S8.
4
right
gigs
now.
of RAM, 128 gigs of storage. You know.
It's a big phone.
No headphone jack, right?
What?
Right?
Is that
Madness.
true? I
What
don't
a-
think I noticed that.
Garbage phone for bad
Wait,
people.
Wait, I read that. I think I read that.
Damn it.
Yes. No 3.5 millimeter headphone jack. USB-C.
See, look, you can even change it. Like I can make Kishore in focus.
That's,
Make Jeremy
that's
in
light
focus.
field. How are you doing that?
It takes 2 pictures.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah.
I'm not impressed because I don't the screen, the edge to edge screen looks good. I feel like that dip around the camera on the front makes this thing look just bizarre.
If it was black,
Yeah, it sets it apart.
you wouldn't notice. If the phone was black instead of white. If
They have a black edition, you still
Okay.
notice it.
also
Because what are you doing with that screen up there? That screen territory.
when
up
the
there?
first iPhone came out and it didn't have a keyboard on it, we all looked and were like, this thing looks really dumb. How are you going to type on it? It doesn't look right. It looks different than everything we've had before. Andy Rubin is a computing genius. He invented Android.
I have no doubts
that
about
come from?
his genius.
Yeah.
That isn't the situation here.
I think the edge-to-edge thing is just where phones are headed.
That's going to happen next year.
that's
for sure.
happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, the next iPhone's supposed to have it. They got nothing else. Like the phone manufacturers have nothing else to show us that makes us excited. That's the problem. I mean, they used to give us actual usable features. They used to give us the fact that the phone can shoot video now. Now it shoots high def video.
You can run 2 applications at one time.
Yeah, or it takes better pictures, like noticeably better
Yeah.
things. It's actually like a nicer metal case, or it's you can do FaceTime. There's a camera on the front now.
So
It's
you're
all-
saying the entire phone industry is moribund and should be destroyed.
I'm just saying we've reached a point of diminishing returns where this stuff is just not as exciting as it used to be.
That's why we need virtual reality.
I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
Is that the first time the word moribund has been used on this podcast?
No, I used to say it all the time.
Really?
Back in my day.
Oh.
Did you say moribund?
I like it's one of my favorites.
Lexmark.
What?
You'd have to probably dig back to
Wait.
episode sub 100 to find
Wait, you're
the
not.
Oh,
word
wow.
Lexmark.
Okay.
Did I skip over something?
Yeah, there's other essential talk, but we can get there later.
Well, what else is there in Essential?
It's an
I'm just going to use that Lexmark as a cliffhanger for the...
Yeah.
They're like, why
We
is
got some
Lexmark being discussed?
Real crazy printer ink filling stuff.
What?
No, I think that's an interesting story. But no, the other thing is they also announced an Echo competitor, their own essential
Home?
essential smart device, like a home thing.
Oh,
Like
I
a
think I
puck?
missed this.
It's a puck, and it has a little screen on it, and you can activate it by using a keyword, by touching it, or by looking at it.
By looking at it.
I don't want that. That means it has cameras.
Yeah, it's like got eye tracking.
What do either of you have a Google Home?
I do.
Do you like it?
No.
Yeah, see, that to me says this is a very difficult category to get in.
Yeah.
Google has all the data to do voice recognition right, and they still couldn't execute this device. So I'm like,
I thought that the Google Home wasn't exciting because the implementation didn't work well.
I
But
think
the actual
that's it.
tech is okay.
Like its voice recognition, its ability to sort of do the basic activities that Alexa does is fine. It just the promise of it, which is a Google based thing that knows all of my googly things,
which is all of your things.
which is everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Its ability to interact with the rest of the Google universe is so limited that it was beyond frustrating to
Can it
use.
make appointments yet?
It can only do it on one calendar still, which is like what?
Why even bother?
Why?
Yeah.
It's just ridiculous, and it doesn't seem to have contextual awareness of my email, and it doesn't have contextual awareness of all of my other ecosystem
Does it
of
know
stuff.
about like travel and stuff like that? Like OK Google on your phone does?
It does only because the phone is sending it. I think
Oh, you're getting it from the okay. Weird.
And then there's a couple sort of UI quirks that I hate. Is when I activate it, when my Android phone is also in the room, it activates on both on both the home
Oh,
and
that's annoying.
and I just don't need it to activate on both.
So Essential Home it's going to work with SmartThings. So maybe you'll be interested in it. I don't know.
I'm okay.
It's cool that it has a screen.
How much is it?
I do think it's an interesting space. I think this is much more interesting than phones right now.
$200?
I don't know.
I don't think any price.
They might not have announced a price yet.
How much is the phone's $800, $700?
Yeah.
That's expensive.
No, but there's no way a puck with a screen is going to be $200. It's going to be more than that.
I don't know about that.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Amazon,
if it has a camera in it, a screen, and the microphone array.
Amazon sells the Baby Echo for what, $25 on sale sometimes? It's
It's
really
basically
cheap.
$40, but
Yeah.
that's just the microphone array. So
Well,
we're
and the
adding a
processor and
screen.
Wi-Fi.
and
Yeah,
a
a
phone.
lot of that stuff's built. Like the screen is a cost, but a lot of that stuff just comes with the chip. Like the processing for all that stuff is just going to come with whatever ARM chip they use. I don't know.
But they don't have the scale of Amazon either. All right. There's no price announced on that. Lexmark.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Lexmark, our friendly printer ink company,
Printer. Yeah.
is back in the news because they finally made it, Jeremy. They made it to the Supreme.
Made it.
Yeah.
They made it to the Supreme Court.
I don't think they wanted to make it there.
They did not.
They
wanna
wanted
make
to stop at the Court of Appeals. What?
Do either of you have an inkjet printer still?
I do. Yeah. No, I have
God,
two of
no.
them.
Really?
Why?
Yeah.
What? Why would you do that to yourself?
Sometimes we gotta print things. The kids got homework and it has to be printed.
Get a laser.
A what? Get a laser printer?
Yeah.
I mean, I suppose I could look at a laser printer, but
I change the toner in my laser printer every 3 years,
that's awesome.
whether I need it or not.
And you
is
color?
true.
Is it a color laser?
No, I don't. But what?
I have a
You don't
color
need
laser
color.
printer that I would recommend.
Why do you need color? They use markers to put color on their homework. Let them crayon it.
Your child will grow up
Yeah.
from here,
Yeah.
and they won't color in everything.
That's fine.
I have a thermal printer for postage, so that's good.
That's handy.
No toner.
I haven't bought one
Ever.
of those yet. I need to get one of those probably.
Yeah. So anyway, as we all know, the inkjet printer companies make all their money not on the printer, but on the ink.
At least on the low end. If you
And-
buy an $800 inkjet printer, you're
Sure.
How do they feel about you refilling those ink cartridges or buying off-brand ink cartridges?
they probably love it, right?
They
'Cause
don't-
It saves them money.
They're
distributing
not
all
mad
those
at the
cartridges.
consumer. They're mad at the refill companies.
Right.
They're trying to sell those
and they tried to shut them down.
and have been successfully doing so for a number of years until a couple days ago.
Yeah.
Supreme Court ruled in favor of these reseller remanufacturers that are recycling used cartridges for consumer benefit.
Huh.
That Lexmark can't shut them down anymore.
Good for them.
They said that Lexmark lost all rights to that monopoly when they sold ink cartridges. And once it's in the consumer's hands, the consumers have the right to essentially tinker with them.
So this is important for the future of ownership, not just ink cartridges.
Exactly.
This implies that they can't just you can't shrink wrap anything and make you liable to the terms in the shrink, like tractors or
Yeah.
cars or whatever it happens to be.
Yeah, the EFF released a big statement about this, saying that they're calling it a victory in the right to tinker,
Yeah,
which
this
is not
yeah.
a small thing. So even though we're joking around about it because it's Lexmark, because it's the Supreme Court where the decision was released, this could become precedent in future cases around this topic.
Presumably, and was the decision about the shrink wrap license, or was it about the right to once you purchase something?
No, here's what they actually said. So when a patent owner chooses to sell an item, that product is no longer within the limits of the monopoly and instead becomes the private individual property of the purchaser.
So they're saying that there's no way to license property, like
Yeah.
physical property. That's super good.
Yeah, and they said with the rights and benefit that come along with ownership. So that is a pretty I'm no legal scholar, but that feels broad. in terms of it.
Presumably this will apply to like the tractor software and all the other, like if you look at all the stuff that we buy from breakfast cereal on up that has a software that has a license attached to it now, this is super good news.
Yeah,
Breakfast cereal doesn't. Really
I
have
think
a
the
license.
repair market, like you say, is actually the bigger market here, not the reselling market as much. I mean, as much as we want the Apple iPhone screen, being resold in a certain way.
Well, so it's also it's interesting for everything that has some sort of shrink wrap license attached to it that it isn't also attached to a service, probably.
Yep.
So if you look at like the Echo, since we were just talking about that, is a good example of a hardware device that you buy that's attached to a service. Without the Amazon Echo service, without the Alexa service, the Echo is basically useless. So like that's going to be a different set of precedents, but. That's huge. That's a huge win for all of us.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
It's good.
We should tell Adam because I think he'll probably celebrate. This is like in his wheelhouse of stuff. All right, lightning round time. Actually, sorry. One more story before we get to the lightning round. At Computex this weekend, Intel announced their new chip generation.
Is this a new generation or is this the super upscale version of the current generation?
So it's like a little column A, little column B, because they announced the Coffee Lake, which is the next generation of where are we at now? KB Lake?
KB Lake is what the current ones are.
Yeah, so it's the next generation above that. But mostly what they announced was the Super X version of KB Lake.
These are the i7 XXX.
Yeah, except now more threads, more cores.
That's awesome.
More hardcore.
How many cores and how much are they?
Up to 16 cores, 32 threads.
Wow. I bet that's going to cost a pretty penny.
Yeah, so they get up there. So the
I'm reading 18 cores, 36.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. 18 cores, 36.
Is that
threads.
Xeon only for the 18 core one? Probably.
I'm not. I haven't seen the super high end one. The price on the super high end one. So that would be the i9s that are 1836 2K for that.
Well, I mean,
monster.
So,
which is
if you're in the market for 16 threads, 16 cores, 32 threads, like you're doing video encodes or doing some sort of nightmarish compute stuff that needs a lot of threads, 2K that's cheaper than running two machines or buying a dual core motherboard and two Xeons that are 16 cores and threaded or 8 cores and threaded.
There you go.
Yeah.
They have a new high-end i7 too with 8 cores and 16 threads, $600.
Is there a response to the Ryzen stuff here though? Like is there an 8 core that's cheap now?
There isn't one that's that cheap. I don't think. That's 8 core. There's a 6 core though.
The 8 core is $600.
That's not too bad, but that's still a lot more than the AMD stuff. What's the 6 core?
The 6 is
$389.
That's okay.
Yeah.
It's not, competitive. The interesting thing about this is that you're going to need new motherboards. Is it still DDR4 and
That's
all
the
that?
thing. Is that a new footprint? You mean like it's a new pinout?
Yeah, I'm sure it's a new it's a new chipset, right? It's X299.
Yeah.
So you need a new chipset. You need a new motherboard. You probably need new RAM. I don't know.
The i7 still use DDR4.
Okay.
So
the i9s use something else.
i9s, it's not even. They didn't announce what the memory support is.
I'm sure it's probably DDR4 at this point still.
I guess so.
I don't think anybody's making DDR5, but I don't really pay attention to that.
I mean,
stuff
it depends
anymore.
on when this is hitting the market, I guess. But I guess if they announced it, they must be DDR4.
Usually close for them.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's a lot of cores.
Yeah, that's beefy. I think for Gunther here, as we were walking in and talking to him about stuff, he was super excited about this as a video encoder.
Yeah.
I mean, the nice thing is when Apple releases new Mac Pros sometime in the future,
Next year,
that'll be potentially a thing you could put in them. Those Ryzen chips are really, really interesting for people who are building their own machines and want like lots of cores if you're doing video editing or stuff like that.
Can you-
I
really
didn't see
cheap.
the pricing on those.
What is a
These
Ryzen
are
chip?
the AMD chips he's talking
Yeah,
about.
so these are the AMD multi-core. They released it last month, maybe the month before, and their performance that you're getting out of those is astounding for like a $200 processor, basically $250 processor in a lot of cases. And you can get as many as 8 cores. So if you have multi-threaded workflows, if you're playing games, it's not that useful. If you have multi-threaded workflows, they're really good.
Quick hitter before we enter Elon's shower. We'll explain what Elon's shower is soon. Drive-through Amazon grocery?
yeah,
What is this?
This is weird. They opened up a couple of them in Seattle. I think it's in Seattle, where it's not what you think. Like a drive-through grocery store sounds really interesting. Just from an experiential standpoint, not from a practical standpoint.
Okay.
Just the experience of driving through a grocery store sounds fun. I'd like to do that. Like there's drive-through liquor stores, right? Like you drive through, it's like a garage, and you just and you get your beer. But this apparently is like you order ahead, and then you drive to the grocery store, and you park out front, and an Amazon employee walks your bag out, puts it in your trunk.
Oh, this is
It's just like Target.
Yeah, this is curbside pickup.
It's
been
curbside pickup.
It's been there forever.
That's all that it is, but they're experimenting with yet another service. Unfortunately, it's really expensive.
Curbside pickup on groceries is relatively new. Few places do that, but it's not brand new. $1 a lemon? What the hell?
Yeah, $1.29 per apple.
What the?
That's crazy expensive.
Yeah, but you don't have to get out of your car.
No, I'll get out of my car for an apple not to cost $1.29.
Exactly, especially if you're driving there, right?
Yeah, this isn't like a one-time purchase kind of thing.
Yeah, this idea does not seem to have a whole lot of legs.
I'm much more interested in the Amazon convenience store where you just walk in, pick stuff off the shelf, and they recognize you, and then you walk out without having to have a human interaction.
Yeah, it's like real life Grand Theft Auto where you can go in and steal stuff and walk away.
Well, like you can do that in Apple stores. You scan your stuff with your phone.
This
right?
you don't even have to scan it. It recognizes you and pick it up off the shelf.
Yeah,
and then you just walk out.
Okay.
It's kind of like going to an all-inclusive resort, except for it's in the real world.
Yeah, right. No money changes hands.
All right, it's time to. Oh wait, we have one other one. You guys ever eaten at Chipotle?
Nope.
Yeah, I like Chipotle.
You've never eaten at Chipotle?
How's that possible?
All right.
White rice has no place in burritos.
They have brown rice.
Ready?
Brown rice also has no place in burritos.
Ready for a secret?
Yeah. What?
I like Chipotle.
I do too.
Gross.
What's wrong? No, their vegan thing is delicious. Sofritas. It's like the best thing on the menu. It's crazy.
Is that a real word? Or is that something that their marketing team made up?
No, it's real.
It is a real.
Okay.
Sofritas.
Okay.
Yeah,
I believe you.
delicious. Get it. I'm telling you. Even if you're not vegetarian, try it out.
I feel bad for saying I like Chipotle.
You should. It's a McDonald's of Mexican food.
It was
McDonald's
owned by
doesn't
for a while.
own them
That's why I
anymore.
said it's the McDonald's of Mexican food.
Well,
smarter than
apparently
me.
they've had malware on some of their computer systems for months,
Ages.
stealing credit card numbers.
I'm just not using swipe credit card terminals anymore. I just only chip or Android Pay.
Oh, that's a good call.
Yeah.
Damn it. I should be using Android Pay more.
Android Pay
in
is
those
good because you're less
situations.
likely. If you feel like you're someplace skeezy,
Yeah.
there you go. Use your NFC
Or Apple Pay.
or Apple Pay.
So wait, the chips don't have this problem?
Chips, I think, don't have this problem. It depends on, as I understand it, depends on how tightly, how bad the intrusion is and how unsecure the terminals are.
Huh.
Yeah.
All right. So they got hit. There were a couple months where they might have been
More than a
vulnerable
few months.
to credit card theft.
Quite a bit of time.
All right. Sorry.
Don't eat Chipotle. That's the lesson here.
No, it's not.
Cilantro rice, my ass.
Don't bring a lawsuit untested.
Their grilled chicken's fine. All right. Time to go into the shower.
We need a segment bumper for this, right?
I'm leaving now.
Like
This is gross. I
shower-
wasn't told this was
shower
this podcast.
audio.
This is
it
started a
Sonic?
few months ago
Okay.
that we decided any sort of Elon Musk conversation would happen as shower thoughts. And so we enter Elon's shower to talk about something that he and other tech leaders have been bringing up for a long time, which is the rise of universal basic income.
This is an interesting topic to
Didn't
me.
Estonia try this? Somebody
Did
in
they
Europe
really?
has tried this. There's been a trial for UBI someplace.
Well, there's a trial in Oakland right now.
Okay.
What's going on in Oakland?
Thought I read that. Is that not a part of this story?
Oh no, I'm looking at the. I brought this up partially because I saw a Vox article that came out yesterday that actually looked at it from an economic perspective. If we replaced U.S. based systems like Social Security and other safety nets, government funded programs with UBI, what the overall impact would be.
Finland is the one doing the current trial for unemployed. Instead of unemployment, they've changed to universal basic income.
I know you've talked about UBI on Still Entitled before, but it hasn't come up much here. For those that don't know, what's UBI?
So the basic idea is that you take your tax money from the highest earners goes to provide a basic standard of living, universal wage that everyone gets until they earn a certain amount of money doing whatever it is they want. And the idea is that as we move toward an economy that's a little more automated and that a lot of the jobs are going to kind of go away. And realistically, we're looking at automation. We're we're starting to reach a point with machine learning stuff where in a few years we'll start seeing office type jobs, knowledge worker jobs automated away. Which is, over the last 100 years, we've shifted from manufacturing to some farming to manufacturing to office type jobs, clerical and stuff like that, to knowledge worker jobs. And each time that's shifted, people have been left behind. And this social safety net of things like welfare and unemployment, stuff like that, has theoretically picked up a lot of those people along the way. The idea that Elon and the Silicon Valley luminaries have is that we should just stop dicking around with Band-Aids and say, look, if you're alive, you should be able to live. We're not utopian hippies. We're not getting rid of money. It's not Star Trek. It's realistic. You need a certain amount of money to live. So the government, if you are not earning that amount of money to live, then you should get that money from the government. You should cover things like healthcare and basic living expenses, rent, power, water, internet, all the things that you need to live. And then rather than spending your time going to the welfare office or to the unemployment office to prove that you're looking for jobs, you should either go start your own businesses, go do your own things. And like, as somebody who's starting a business, I am a proponent of this idea, right? I've spent a lot of my own money getting Foo off the ground. Jeremy, you've done this, right?
To me, this does not sound like charity. And this sounds like something that is going to become a necessity as there's fewer and fewer trades that one can even be employed by.
Yeah. We need to be in a situation, like at some point there's going to be millions of unemployed people. And we need ways for them to live, or our country is going to turn into a dystopian nightmare.
Exactly. So part of this, I mean, leaders have been talking about this for a while. We talked about it a couple weeks on the show with Bill Gates saying we should tax companies that are implementing forms of automation in some way to slow the progress of this. But most people are sort of just jumping ahead. Like it's coming. We need to start talking about what replacement looks like.
Yeah.
The Vox article was interesting because it looked at a couple different models, and I'll put links to papers about this. One is basically if we cut social programs, like what would the overall effect be? And their conclusion, or a lot of economists' conclusion, is that it would really hurt the elderly to cut those programs and implement a UBI system, because it wouldn't just sort of they take out more than UBI would replace, but everyone else would benefit.
Right. Well, and I mean, I think no matter what happens, there has to be like this is an incredibly complex thing, right? Just saying, hey, we need universal basic income is easy. Figuring out how to implement it, and whether you start with people that are just entering the workforce now, or you start with people who are before retirement age, or whatever it happens to be, like there has to be a staggered system to bring people on board to this. The
most interesting thing they cite is a new paper that talks about something called negative tax income, which is a term I'd never heard before, which is basically UBI that tapers off as your income goes up.
Right.
So the idea of you make $0, you would get $20,000 as negative tax income. You'd get a check back for that. But as your wage goes up, that money goes down. And so that would have less impact on elderly population and still have some benefits for everyone else.
Well, it's I mean, that idea, I mean, that makes perfect sense, right? If you're making money, the idea is that then your employer is putting that contribution into your pocket, and then money you make above that point gets taxed at an increasing rate the more money you make. I mean, like I said, I think we're in for some profound societal changes as robotics becomes less industrialized and more commercialized, and we have to address it somehow, or else things are going to be bad.
It's easy for this to become a political discussion or get bogged down in the complexity of it. But the one of the reasons it's being brought up on this tech podcast is every tech leader is talking about this in some way, shape, or form.
Well, and the thing that I think the reason tech leaders talk about stuff like this is A, they're pushing automation in a lot of instances, but B, a lot of those people are close enough to starting businesses that they remember what it was like when you sit down and say, okay, I'm not going to make any money for 2 years. How does that live? And think about the freedom that would afford you as a normal person. Like, most people can't do that. It's difficult. You have to come from a place of privilege. Either you have to have made a bunch of money and have savings that you can do it. You have to have family that you can lean on. You have to be able to raise money from investors. If I know that I'm going to make $40,000 in the next 2 years, then gives me the freedom to go out and take risks that I would not be able to take otherwise. Healthcare is the same situation, right? If I know that my wife who has pre-existing conditions and I who have pre-existing conditions are going to be able to get health insurance that's reasonably priced, I don't have to stay at a company that gives me health insurance and covers my pre-existing conditions. And the theory that Bill Gates specifically mentioned is that if we do that, then we'll see a lot of people starting innovative new businesses that draft off of these new technologies. And yeah, some people will sit at home and just watch Netflix all day. That's the thing that happens. In America, we tend to think of social safety net stuff as something that should be discouraged and is if people stay on it too long, they should be punished or removed, rather than the idea that, hey, everybody deserves to eat. I don't know.
I wonder if that's an infrastructure problem. I wonder if there are systems in place currently to facilitate like getting people involved in a way that they contribute back to society in a way that makes them feel fulfilled and helps society when they don't have to worry about income. I mean, obviously there are opportunities for that, but that's not what our entire society is built around. It's about, getting a job and going to work 9 to 5. So that's like the other part of the equation to me. The thing in Oakland, apparently it's not very transparent, but Matt Kristoloff, one of the guys behind the Y Combinator accelerator, he donated a couple $1 million and spread it across 50 people in Oakland over the past year. And they're doing this experiment. And if it's successful, they say they want to expand it beyond that.
If you want to learn more about the kind of the politics of the welfare state and the idea of the welfare queen and stuff like that that came around in the 90s under Newt Gingrich's Congress, 99PI did 99% Invisible did a great episode a few months ago. It's episode 223. It's called The Magic Bureaucrat and His Riverside Miracle, and it explains a lot of the background on the changes that happened between the birth of the social safety net with Social Security and welfare and stuff like that in the 50s and 60s, the Depression in the 60s, and then the shift that happened in the late 90s under the Clinton presidency with the Gingrich Congress.
Just like a few years ago when everyone really started to take healthcare seriously because it became such a bigger part of our economy here, we're in the same situation with this topic. So I'll put some links in the show notes if you want to learn more, but this is something we'll talk about more. Hey, do we have a message from Norm?
We do. What's this last note, though? 99 Pi? Is that something important?
Oh, no, that's just a note that we'll just mention.
All right.
Support for this week's episode of This Is Only a Test comes from Proper Cloth. We all know that finding a dress shirt that fits is hard. Whether the collar is too tight or the sleeves are too long, something always seems to be off. Luckily, ordering a custom fit shirt has never been easier, thanks to Proper Cloth. At propercloth.com, you can easily create a custom shirt size in seconds just by answering 10 easy questions. It's a foolproof process. You don't even need measuring tape. Plus, Proper Cloth has over 500 fabric styles to choose from, including premium Italian and Japanese fabrics, as well as business and casual styles, all starting at just $85. And best of all, Proper Cloth guarantees a perfect fit, meaning that if somehow your shirt doesn't fit perfectly, well, they'll remake it for free. No wonder Proper Cloth is the highest rated custom shirt maker on Google. It's truly the future of shirts. So stop wearing shirts that don't fit and start looking your best with a custom fitted shirt. Go to propercloth.com/test today and use the gift code TEST, T-E-S-T, to save $20 on your first shirt. Check them out and thank them for sponsoring this week's episode. Now back to the show.
Now it's time for a moment of science. So we're recording this on a Wednesday, and just announced this morning, President Trump announced that the U.S. will be backing out of the Paris Accords on climate change.
Did he announce it for real?
He did. And he announced that there's moves being made to do this. This is not a simple thing. For those that either don't know or don't recall, the Paris Accords was a international climate agreement where countries agreed to keep global temperatures below a rise of about 2 degrees Celsius limit greenhouse gas emissions by human activity, to the same point around 2050 to sometime between 2050 and 2100, that there would be a review system for each country to cut their carbon emissions every 5 years as a benchmark going forward. And there'd be a system where richer countries would contribute money to help poorer countries finance climate change initiatives in their countries. 147 countries out of 197 total signed on to the accord. We are now one of 3 countries that have officially said we're backing out, along with, I think, El Salvador and one other.
That was Nicaragua.
Might be Nicaragua.
Yeah, the Nicaragua said it didn't go far enough, and Syria is being Syria.
Yes, those are the 2.
North Korea's in, though. They signed.
I think the overall point of this agreement is there was lots of criticism from many different perspectives. Obviously, there's a whole set of people that don't believe in global warming and don't believe in climate change. I'm not going to talk about their objections to this. Many of the objections did come from countries like Nicaragua or even climate scientists saying this did not go far enough. It didn't put enough very specific issues, but it was lauded as a first step forward.
The low-lying nations near the coast were the ones that seemed to have the most objections, if I recall.
Maldives are not going to be a country if the projections hold true. Backing out of the accords is not simple because of the way the agreement was signed. So in the same case that with Brexit, where exiting that agreement will take time, it supposedly will take time here too, up to 4 years if they go through the traditional route, a year if they basically just back out of the UN commission that helped spearhead this.
Guess which one we're going to do, probably.
Yeah. We don't know, to be fair.
Okay.
But it will take some time. This isn't immediate, snap your fingers, we're done. What's weird to me is the president ran on this being damaging to business. And this past week saw so many business leaders, particularly from companies that you would associate as being polluters.
Exxon.
The head of Exxon came out and said he made personal calls to try to prevent the U.S. backing out of this accord. The reason there's concern is if the U.S. backs out, and we're the second largest CO2 emitter around the world, that gives license to other countries to back out as well. We haven't gotten that signal from China or India, China being the largest emitter.
China committed to staying in, actually.
Yeah. Oh, did they?
Yes.
Oh, that's news.
Yeah, as did whatever the number. It wasn't. I don't think it was India. It was the number 3, maybe.
Which is probably Brazil, I'm guessing, but I don't know.
Yeah.
There's doubling down in France, in Europe, and France has said they're going to do everything they can to make sure this agreement holds true. There's a lot of hand-wringing as we stand now. This is just hours after the announcement this morning. We went from Covfefe to this announcement in a span of, 6 or 7 hours. So,
man, that Covfefe joke was really funny, though.
Real funny for a while.
Great laughs.
It's something that there's a lot to read up on the ramifications of backing out about these accords. I'm going to post some articles from scientists writing about this as what they see the impact towards climate science being about backing out of these accords. From being this is the Moment of Science segment, I will say the biggest concern I have about backing out of these accords is that I think it'll damage U.S. capability to be on innovations related to climate change, whether it be whole industries that are tackling renewable energy or attracting the right talent to study these issues. I think they'll go elsewhere.
Well, when we're talking about renewing our commitment to coal in a world where in the first quarter of 2017 we generated 19.35% of our total electricity from renewable resources, hydro power, solar and wind in the U.S. even. The price of solar per kilowatt hour is dropping much more quickly than we expected. It's incredibly foolish to back away from renewables, which is a growth industry for the future.
But this is the government backing away. And I understand that you think he's representing industry, but from what I understand, the people at the top of industry see the momentum and they see that we are past the point of no return. And there's actually a lot more profit to be made in renewables.
But But at the same time, DOE and the federal government funds so much of the research that makes that technology happen. Like we've all seen the picture of the iPhone that shows all of the government research that went into the creation of that from DARPA and DOE and all the different places. If we stop funding that research at a high level, then it's going to impact American jobs and our relevance in the future. All it takes is one isolationist for a few years to ruin us for a century.
I don't know if I buy that this is any sort of permanence here, or I even buy into some of the long-term projections of how this is a death nail in the coffin of our work on climate change. I don't buy anything like that. I think it's concerning for a whole sector that it seems to be an area that other countries are betting on. I know we'll get flack from people that feel differently in the comments and whatnot. That's fine. I think this is an important moment in science right now, what's happening, and it's worth investigating.
I mean, the signals are getting clear every year. The polar ice, there's less polar ice every year. The Arctic ice shelves are in a.
Do I need to get my map of Antarctica out?
Do you have
Do you
have one here? You're ready?
Multiple weeks. I've been talking about the story of the Larsen C shelf, the letter C in Antarctica breaking off, and they've been tracking where the crack is going. And basically a chunk of Antarctica the size of Delaware is about to fall off into the ocean. And that's going to allow the ocean to come up to those glaciers and melt them much more quickly.
And we're seeing things like methane release in Siberia as the tundra melts, and we're seeing parts of permafrost that haven't melted in literally tens of thousands of years.
That permafrost melting, releasing not only methane, but like new bacteria that hasn't been alive on this planet in 1,000 years.
Jurassic Park
is really weird.
Sorry.
But it is a weird segue into my next story.
It's seen as a partisan issue, but the thing is that there are lots of conservatives who care about this just as well.
This is literally the only country in the industrialized world that doesn't see this as a major issue. I mean, that's us in Syria. Let's be real.
Sure.
Are you going to talk about the king tides in Hawaii?
I wasn't going to talk about the king tides.
Yeah.
I was going to talk about bacterial resistance.
Oh, I like that too.
So transition to talking about those permafrost bacteria to a new bacterial resistance story, but one that we can hold our heads up high about for once.
Oh, so it's
it's not a end of the world kind of bacterial resistance. Whew. So one of the last drugs of last resort is called vancomycin, and it attacks a certain type of bacteria, gram-positive bacteria that have a certain cellular wall structure, by basically latching onto a component of that cellular wall. And then the bacteria can't build the rest of their cellular wall around it, so it just crumbles. They basically pull out like the keystone from the wall, and the wall crumbles. And if your cellular wall crumbles, you got no cell then.
Your business is all leaked out into the intercellular medium.
And so because of how that works, resistance has been slow to develop to this drug. But we've started to see it because there's a certain amino acid it grabs onto in that wall. And bacteria have started to come up with a new compound that fits into that wall that vancomycin couldn't grab onto. That sounds horrible, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that sounds super bad.
You said this was good.
This is good. We outsmarted it. So scientists have actually modified vancomycin by putting two different ends on it that can both attack the original amino acid there and the new amino acid kind of type that bacteria came up with for that. And they added a little weapon at the top. I'll call it a laser because it's awesome, which makes the antibiotic 25,000 times more potent against that bacteria.
Holy cow.
It is. Those bacteria are fucked. This is us like really kicking some butt.
Hey, we got brains, you got evolution. Who wins?
Usually evolution, but
Takes longer.
But we finally got one.
That is super good news.
It is good news. They
Scary.
haven't done human trials yet, but they see or animal trials yet, and but they see a lot of positivity from this. Woohoo! That's one. All right.
Congratulations, us.
Last couple bits of news. The construction on the extra large telescope. What is it called?
The ELS.
ELT, extremely
Oh.
large telescope in Chile.
Has it started?
It's underway.
Oh. This is the place they cast the mirrors for this in Tucson. They're huge, right?
yeah.
has been broken.
This is a almost 40-meter wide telescope.
It's multiple lenses.
That's the
and an
aperture.
array.
No, the aperture. Is 40
Aperture
meters.
is 40 meters. Yeah.
Why would
Well, that's what you're talking about in
I
terms
mean,
of.
I guess
Is that what you talk about?
Yeah.
I talk about the length of a telescope.
Oh, okay.
Well, they say it's more about how you use it than how big it is. How are they going to use this telescope, Kishore? Can we see back to the beginning of time?
They're going to use it to spot distant galaxies and find small planets, maybe with larger planets around
So
it.
tell me about that. If I look through this extremely large telescope at a planet and another solar system, in what, 10 years?
2024. So, yeah,
6
8
Okay.
years.
7 years.
What am I going to see? Is it going to be anything more than a dot?
So it can take in so much. No.
Okay.
It can take in so much more light than any other telescope. And the only one that's on this sort of level is the 30-meter telescope, which is trying to be built in. Where is the 30-meter telescope? But that project is in limbo.
That's
because
in Hawaii. Because
it's
of
in
the
Hawaii,
stuff, right?
Yeah, there's problems with that one.
That's 10 meters more than the 30-meter one, too, if my math is right.
This is true.
So that should be 33% better.
So what are we going to learn that's worth all this money and time?
And precious glass.
We can see certain planets that we wouldn't be able to see through like transiting mechanisms.
Oh, like actually see the dots. Fascinating.
If I'm standing on the moon with a sign and you aim this big boy at me, would you be able to read the sign?
I could definitely do an enhance.
Okay.
I want to know the answer to that question.
Yeah, I do too.
I bet you could.
This seems
I
like
don't
a what
know.
if.
I bet you could.
This seems like, you know who'd know the answer to this? Randall Munro.
Uh-huh.
There's no doubt Randall Munro would know this. I'll look that up.
Should I put this in a what if? Should I put this in the form of what if I was standing on the surface of the moon with a large sign? Could this
Okay.
extremely, incredibly,
Extremely.
exceptionally?
Can we stop letting astronomers like name telescopes?
No, it's a good
Extremely
one. It's a good
really?
one. Yeah.
They're
it's a
going to
good one.
put somebody's name on it once it's built, right? There's usually an acronym while they're building, and then they change it to like the John Hubble Space Observatory.
It's better than Vanel Meissen.
Vanomycin. It's that
That's
name,
a scientific
that
name.
means exactly. It says it's Vano, which means murder, and myosin, which means cells.
Yeah.
Right?
I
Science.
would rather call it like extremely badass medicine. That would be awesome.
Dope pills.
Dope pills.
But then
Get
if
your
they
dope
evolve,
pills here.
if they evolve resistance, then you have to change the name.
yeah.
It used to be badass medicine.
Yeah, that's true. Slightly less badass than in 2017.
So last night or tonight for our people here, Nova is premiering a special called Poison Water that details everything that happened with Flint. And it should be a really interesting story. I know a couple of scientists that are involved. This sort of cascade of both social and science and engineering issues that led to the lead poisoning in Flint. It's a great watch. I think you should check out Nova tonight or whenever it airs on your local PBS station.
I feel like Nova tonight. Like
The VR Minute. Virtual reality this week.
You guys play any VR games recently?
man, nobody plays VR games anymore.
All right.
It feels like Norm never left. I keep hearing his voice. It's like he's with me all the time, every day.
He'll always be a part of the podcast.
Um,
So this, first of all, Super Hot is now out on Vive.
that game's great.
Everyone,
is great.
Everyone loves this game.
Have you played it?
Yeah, it's a good game.
Okay.
I'm just saying, everyone else.
How does it port to Vive? How does it work?
I haven't played it yet. Why?
Okay.
Why would it should be fine? Why it wouldn't be? That doesn't
Fair.
surprise me, right?
Yeah, okay. I totally agree.
I mean, everyone knows what Super Hot is. It's like a bullet timey game. In the original gamepad, you would actually time would only flow when you would move through the space. In VR, it only moves when you actually move your hands and your head. And you have to aim and then be careful because every time you move, the enemies come closer to you. Bullets start to fly faster towards your face. So there's a kind of a puzzle shooter mixture going on. It's not a room scale game. You're not moving your feet a whole lot. You're not walking through space.
I move my feet a little bit.
Do you move a little bit?
Yeah, it's more. I guess it's more hip movements.
Yeah, I do a lot of leaning. Anyway, fantastic game. It's on Vive. It's on Steam. Check it out.
Can you cut bullets in half with a sword in that game?
Good question.
You can.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
Robo Recall, you can grab the bullets.
Yeah.
And throw them back.
You can cut a bullet in half with a sword. You can throw a bottle at someone and they explode. You can play that entire game, I think, without shooting one time.
Yeah. I think you probably get an achievement for that.
Yeah.
But I would say, more importantly to us, a brand new game was released yesterday on all platforms, PSVR, Vive, and Oculus Rift. Star Trek Bridge Crew.
Sorry, that was a bad ending there on bad whistling.
And
That game's amazing.
We played last night.
It's not cheap.
I don't care.
$50.
Every penny was well spent. It is a good game.
Yeah. So the idea is you can play with AI. That's there. But the way the game is intended to be played is you and 4 other people.
3 other people.
You and 3 other people.
I think you could do it with 2 other people, or maybe even 1 other person too.
You sit aboard the Aegis.
Aegis. I always said that was Aegis.
It's an Enterprise-like ship in the JJ verse.
It looks like an NX ship, actually.
And you have a captain, helms,
Yeah.
tactical, and engineering. And you guys divvy them up however you want.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go on a space battle. You go on a space mission.
Space battled. Stop talking like Will.
There's
a
you
battle.
go, you go
It's
on,
explore.
there's
the
6
The X means it's extreme, Kishore.
There's a campaign which is 6 missions. Now apparently the last 2 are very difficult.
universe. Okay.
We've only made it through the first 3. Plus
That means we have 2 more.
exactly. We have the hard ones to do.
That last one was fairly difficult when we had a bad captain.
The last one was the first
when we had a
one.
good captain, it was
so
fine.
the 3 of us plus Gary Witta got on the game last night, played for 2 hours. Will Smith here streamed it to Twitch, which is now on YouTube. You can watch it if you like.
There's a link in the show notes. I'll give it to you now, Kish.
And it was a lot of the first few missions quite easy. We talked a lot over top of them. By the time we got to the 3rd mission, we had to cut the chatter down and try to focus.
You had to cut the chatter down.
Yeah, Will didn't stop talking.
I
the
was
whole
fine.
time.
We actually had to play it twice because we failed the first time.
That was poor captaining, I think. That's why we failed it that
Well,
first time.
Gary left the shields down for an extended period
that
of
was
time.
you got a bad score because your tactical not up to stuff.
Gary was good. When he was the captain, he was the only one of us that said, just use your discretion. Do it, whatever, if it makes sense.
See, when did you ever hear, even Janeway didn't say, yeah, just, you do what you think's right over there, Tuvok. No, she's like, look, motherfucker, raise the shields, bam, 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 bust a cap in that Ferengi ass.
Meanwhile, Will had a different take on Federation protocols than the rest of us when he would just shoot photon torpedoes at anything that moved.
Little trigger happy.
Those gravitic mines were an imminent danger to the ship. I did what I thought was necessary.
You only have a set number of those torpedoes, though. That's the problem.
Well, if Kishore would have flown me closer to the gravitic
true.
mines, I could have phasered them instead of wasting photon
I'm not
torpedoes.
the pilot here.
so you think of this game, you might think, what's that iPhone game that everyone plays? Space Mission?
Space
Yeah.
Team.
Space Team. It's kind of that idea. There's actually a more advanced version that's a lot like the LCARS interface, right? It actually costs a lot of money, and you get all your laptops together.
Well, so that's Artemis, is what you're
Artemis,
talking about.
exactly.
Artemis is what Star Trek role players use as the tool to make the missions, and this is similar to that with much better production value and a little bit simpler. At least what we've seen so far, it's a little bit simpler.
You've played Artemis?
I played Artemis.
So this is actually that. I would have thought Artemis was even a little more technical.
Artemis is a lot more technical.
Okay.
Yeah, like there are a lot more fidgets to spin in Artemis.
Right.
We should talk about the mechanics of this
Yeah.
game, how
Yes.
it works. So at those 4 stations, you have a limited set of controls that you can do, and everything is basically you have the LCARS type screen in front of you, and you just touch different elements of the screen in order to achieve your thing. I would say there's usually about 6 degrees of controls on each of the pads. Like the captain can hail and set red alert and handle some sort of communications and look at the objectives. Helm has the piloting controls, which has everything from warp to impulse to just thruster power. Tactical has weapons control. And then engineering has scanning, and engineering has the ability to repair and manage power to different systems. And those 3 also, Helm, Tactical, and Engineering, also have access to a shared set of controls, which include transporting and the ability to scan or jam, hack, different ships. Capabilities.
And all of these different interfaces have multiple pages. Like there's enough depth there. I think engineering may be the most elusive because I don't think we even used the rerouting. I never did. You reroute?
Yeah, I rerouted power to you when you were on the helm. That's why you're able to go so fast.
You didn't just boost it to the max. You actually routed
I boosted
from
it to
the
the max,
phasers.
and then I moved it over from the shields because shields were down. We didn't need shield power.
See, I think mastering that is going to be necessary for these last two.
I
acts.
don't. I'm going to go and tell you the engineering was the only time I was bored the entire night.
Engineering is the least interesting.
Yeah, I think you could play 3 people and have somebody swap over to engineering in a pinch.
So let's talk about the social aspect first.
Yes.
I went in thinking this would be a very yell over each other type game, and it was sort of.
Only when people weren't playing, right?
Yes, this is true. But actually, people jumped into the roles pretty quickly when shit got real.
Yeah.
Well, so there's a bunch of you're on the bridge. There's 4 of you there, 4 players, and then there's also some NPCs. There's the exposition Vulcan over by the helm, who tells you what's going on. He's I think science officer probably.
Yeah. There's comms Uhura type NPC.
Yeah, and I mean basically, it's interesting because each station is limited in the information you get. The captain has pretty much all the information, but no direct control over anything. So the captain knows what the objectives are. The captain can see the local map. The captain can see whether your shields are up, whether your weapons are hot, stuff like that. But the captain literally can't do anything unless the other people pull the trigger. The helm, on the other hand, has all the flight controls, but very little information about the actual objectives and very little information about the state of the ship. You just know what your top speed is, and I guess you know whether shields are up because the map always shows that circle.
Well, you know if your shields are based on your missions. So the helm has the ability to see where
The circle.
the circle, which is how close you can be
Yeah.
to bad guys before they can see you.
But then also around the ship, there was a red ring, which is hull strength, and there's a blue ring, which is shields.
And did that turn off when shields are down?
I think that turned off when shields were down.
Okay.
It's really interesting. Everybody needs to the way it all works together is really fascinating because you actually do need to work together. And if you aren't fulfilling your roles, for example, if tactical doesn't scan a ship, you can't teleport people, you can't transport people off, you can't hack their subsystems, which are often objectives in the game and or will keep you alive in a combat encounter.
And you can scan the whole ship, or you can just scan the engines or one tiny subsection, which actually takes a lot less time. So that's a strategy that you can use.
Really? I didn't know you could do that.
Oh yeah.
Huh.
If the helm isn't facing the ship in the direction of whatever you want to shoot at, you can't use the forward. There's only forward phasers on the Aegis, so you can't shoot. I want to really try you can also so there's 2 different modes as well. There's the campaign modes, which are these scripted missions that are designed from the beginning. Then there's also some missions that seem to be programmatically generated.
Oh wow.
And you can fly the original TOS Enterprise in that. And I think that's a more capable ship than the Aegis. I think you have phasers all the way around, more
really?
torpedoes and stuff like that. So I'm interested to see what
we don't need
changes
to give
with
you
that.
any more.
So I
photon
don't think the
torpedoes.
gameplay changes. At least I didn't understand that the gameplay changed at all. It's just that the environment
It's just
changed,
the skin.
and it's a much more difficult ship to, interact with because natively on the Aegis, all of the buttons are labeled just right there next to the thing. You can get this augmented reality that helps you give context, but it's all right in front of you. It says scan right on the button. But on the TOS ship, it's just jewels and gems, like on Adam's chair.
Wow.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah, you turn on the augmented thing in order to learn it.
Yeah.
But they're not
So
on
we're going
it.
to have to commit to our station.
Yeah.
Wow. So Gary's review after we were done was the most fun he's ever had in VR.
Yes.
What do you walk away with from the experience last night?
I mean, it was a good company.
I had a very memorable time. I'm not as enthusiastic as Gary, but I'm nuts about the Rec Room Quest stuff. To me, that
was better.
That's like Game of the Year level excitement. I really feel strongly about that. But I had a great time in Star Trek, and I would go back tonight with you guys if you want to finish it.
I'm totally going to go back. I want to do some more of the missions. I want to try the randomized missions and see if they're any good.
I think we should also just, commit to a station.
Well, I would vote you captain. You're a very strong captain.
This isn't a democracy, Jeremy.
If it were a democracy, I would vote
We've all seen the Abrams
Captain Hari
movies. Kirk just sat down. That's how he got it.
The first person there gets the chair.
I feel like as hands off maybe as the helm is, I'd be happy to be helm because I got us through that stealth mission, I think, handily.
I really enjoyed tactical. I liked captaining.
I'm going to vote you can't be on tactical.
I can cool it on the torpedoes.
I actually don't mind him on tactical.
I got the job done, man. Yeah. Did we hit anything? No. when the captain didn't tell me to wait until we were away from that guy to pop the phasers off on him. I mean, maybe he took a little bit of damage.
You did follow orders. When I ordered you to open fire on the Federation ship,
I was right there ready to
Yes,
go,
sir.
Captain.
He might have been a sassy tactical officer. To me, it highlighted the real promise of social VR because it took you like directly into this incredible sci-fi experience that we all relate to.
Yes.
Started to inhabit those characters and still have meaningful gameplay. It wasn't as active as many of the other VR games that we played.
Well, it's a
socially.
seated experience for one.
I mean, with Rec Room, when we play Rec Room, usually at the end of a Rec Room session, I'm sweaty, my face is red, like the headset's pretty gross inside. I had to get the VR cover with the memory foam in it because my other foam was foul after playing Rec Room 3 nights in a row. But having that seated environment and being able to kind of switch around and having the space teamy kind of roles to play. And
it does fulfill.
It was fun.
A lot of promise.
I also I found myself role playing in a way that I kind of didn't expect to. Like I kind of want to set up 4 people and do this as a series where we just play. The Star Trek episodes, the series are always about the best ships in the fleet. I want to make a show about the worst ship in the fleet, like the lovable buffoons that always end up managing to survive just through a twist of fate right at the end.
I think it would be fun to capture everyone's OBS and edit it together.
Yeah, like make a real stab at it.
Yeah, one thing that they got right with the interface is all of these touchscreen buttons. I would have expected you to just reach out and touch them, but you actually reach out, hover over them, and then click your button on your controller, which is a good way of making it feel like you're actually doing something.
Well, and so when you're sitting in the captain's chair at the engineering station, you can see other people working. It's great because they did a really nice job with the hand animation.
Yeah.
So like from first person, the hand animation's merely okay. From third person, when you're watching somebody else work, it looks like it looks like John Cho up there tapping away at the helm and moving his fingers when he's flying the ship and all that. It's really neat. It's really well done.
I would say the weakness of the game is that there are a few stations, especially engineering, where things are a little slow.
Yeah, I think
the game itself is slow at parts. It takes a little while to get.
It can
going.
be. That's why I'm interested to see what the programmatic missions are.
Me too, because my concern is about the depth. I'm afraid if we complete these last 2 missions, that's not that much gameplay. We played the first 3 plus the preamble in 2 hours.
Yeah.
And one of those missions was like 10 minutes long because we didn't do it right or we were kind of not instructed.
Right. That was the one you led.
Well, it's
your favorite captain.
Get the hell
Your
out
favorite
of
captain left 400 people on that ship to die.
Only left. It was the mission was called the Kobayashi Maru, wasn't it?
No, that was Jeremy's
mine.
mission.
That was mine.
Well, then I don't know. I left those people to die.
I was bummed we should have gotten blown up at the end of Kobayashi Maru. I want to go back and do some of those missions again to see if you can break them in interesting way. Like I feel like the Kobayashi Maru one especially, there's weird stuff you can poke at there to make interesting things happen. Like I want to know how many kind of special cases, how much variety there is in those programmatic missions. Because if it's just like warp in and fight a bunch of birds of prey, that's kind of boring. If there's actually like you have to go here and scan some stuff and fly through some stealth sections and all that, that's interesting.
Shall we wrap this up?
Yep, let's go.
Testing this week. Hey, what have you guys been testing?
Anything on the docket?
What's this Pixel XL?
I switched to Android.
I can't believe you did that.
It's amazing, and you shattered your phone instantly, right?
I put it in my pocket, went to LA, got off, stood up on the plane, got my bag, pulled my phone out of my pocket to call a Lyft as I was walking to the Lyft pickup spot. And when I pulled my phone out of the pocket, when I got to the front to pick up to see where the Lyft was, the back glass had exploded.
The back glass he's talking about is on the Pixel XL at the top. There's a back glass surrounding the fingerprint scanner and the camera.
I have a few more minutes too, I think.
I know.
How do you like your Pixel XL so far?
I really like it a lot. Like I am. It's been a while since I used an Android phone. Like I had a Galaxy S6, I guess, just to do Gear VR stuff, and I used it for a couple of days and kind of switched back. I am really, really impressed with this phone. It's a delightful phone. The camera's great. The OS is like they've done a good job dialing back the early Android days where everything was customizable to the point that it was frustrating because it was never very good, to something that is mostly customizable. And then if you want to kind of dig deeper, you and get crazy, you can, but you don't have to, and you don't feel like you have to. Let's see what the places. Oh, I'm getting text messages. Sorry. The places that I'm bummed, my parking's going to run out in a minute. That's not great. The places that I'm a little bummed are the OK Google stuff is really, really great. Sorry, guys. Is really, really great at things like making appointments and like setting up locations and things like that, like giving me navigation to a location.
That binary kind of stuff.
Yeah, but it's the general stuff it's really good at. They don't do a lot of special cases. Like Apple with Siri does a lot of special cases. Like if you use find your friends with your family, then I can say, hey, hey Siri, where's my wife? And she'll say, oh, she's blah, blah, blah. Google doesn't, even though I have location sharing set up in Google Maps with my family, we don't get any of that with that, which is a little bit of a bummer.
I think that some of the contextual awareness that we want and the complexity in Assistant supposedly is supposed to improve over time in addition to new features being rolled out. Have you had Assistant actually get better for you?
I've only had the phone for about 3 weeks. So
oh,
not
okay.
Really.
So my experience is Assistant, I've had the phone now for like 6 months, and Assistant has progressively gotten better.
Oh, that's good.
And so it like not leaps and bounds, but like very subtly, like it knows my behavior in the way that Google now used to know my behavior. It knows my commute and knows certain things I want to do. And it seems to recognize my voices and patterns. And because I have YouTube TV and I cast a lot more now, it's become much more useful in that context as well.
So, like for me, it's just really basic stuff. Like no matter how many times I've retrained the voice algorithm using the actual OK Google with of course it works today. Nope. Actually, it gave me we don't recognize your voice.
Oh.
It never picks up my voice.
That's
like
interesting.
yeah, I can never use that with the phone off.
I totally have the opposite experience.
Oh, I must be doing something wrong then. Maybe I'm not enunciating clearly enough during the training phase. The camera is amazing. Like it's my iPhone 7 had a great camera. I missed the optical zoom. I missed that second sensor a little bit. The bokeh thing where you move the phone up a little bit after you take the shot. Once I got the knack of that, was pretty easy. Photospheres are surprisingly useful.
Oh, really? I'm not a fan.
I'm working. I almost have a cube map for my office done so that my Vive launch room will be the office that I'm standing in, which is kind of fun.
That's cool.
It's a spectacular phone. One thing that bums me out, the Bluetooth stuff. It can't connect to more than one Bluetooth audio device at once.
This is
which
true.
is really dumb. I haven't had a phone that did that in years, and it's really frustrating because
and it's switching back and forth between different devices is also kind of slow.
Yeah. Android Auto. The fact that you can get Android Auto in a car that doesn't actually support Android Auto is fucking terrific.
Yeah, I do that right now with my car. What about Daydream?
Daydream. So the software is a little thin. There's not a whole lot of great applications out there, but there are. The reason I needed to get an Android phone is because apparently Google seeded a lot of universities with Daydream dev kits of last year, and a lot of like the VR projects I've gotten from people that we're talking to about hiring for some jobs are Daydream projects. So I needed a way to look at them, and like this, like virtual reality is a thing. I can't remember the name of the company, but they're down in Santa Cruz. Is really, really good and really clever and smart and fun. And it's like it's like a 20-minute thing.
We tried out Daydream pretty early on, like got the headset and everything else in, and there just wasn't much there.
It's still like it's like Hulu and HBO Go and that kind of stuff is there. The YouTube client's pretty good if you want 360 video. The number of games, there's a lot of games that have been ported over from Gear now, it seems like, and then there's a handful of kind of custom bespoke experiences that are pretty good.
I got some pretty poor frame rates.
Really?
With my Pixel. I don't know if I just had too much crap installed, but we played some wizarding game that was just awful.
Yeah.
So the stuff that I've only played probably a half dozen apps, and then like I said, a bunch of student projects. It seems like the frame rate in virtual reality especially was really shockingly good, and they did something So the hand controller, having a separate hand controller is nice. It's not tracked independently. So they basically model where your hand would be if you're sitting with it in your right hand, and then they animate it based on the gyroscope and accelerometer movements. And I find it to be really good. I was really pleasantly surprised. The tracking is good. The frame rate was okay, and it was a fun game.
Cool.
Most of the other games I played, I have been kind of up and down.
Anything else anyone's been
I tried
testing?
the HTC Vive Deluxe audio strap for the past few
Ooh.
days.
And?
Now this is, I think, if you own a Vive and you're aware of this shortcoming, which is that the does not have integrated audio. Maybe you've gotten used to it. I don't know. But coming from the Rift and having experienced the Rift and the Vive, it's something I don't like about Vive out of the box, because the pain of putting the headset on and then earbuds and then grabbing the controllers is just one extra step. It's just not something I look forward to.
And also, like, I use my headset multiple times a day. The elastic in my Vive strap is not as springy as it once was.
Well, I don't have that problem so much, but those two issues, it does fix these two issues with the Vive, which is it gives you that integrated audio. So the headphones are built right into it. You take all the cables out of your existing Vive and you offer the head strap, and then you reroute them over the new one. And you take off that little headphone extender, and you plug the headphones that are built into this new headset right into the Vive headset. It has this little curly, springy cable. And then so now you put it on like a baseball hat. You've got your headphones on. You take it off in one motion. It's wonderful. And it also, as Will was alluding to, it has a rigid rear end of the strap, so that it now grabs the base of your skull, better supports the weight. Even though it now adds a little bit of weight, it actually feels more comfortable. And you can screw the little back in order to make it grip. It has elastic in the same way that the Rift does, so that when you take it off, you sort of stretch it forward and it releases and you take it off.
How's the sound quality on the headphones?
I would say it's not blow away, but it's on the same ballpark as the Oculus Rift.
This is one of those things I remember before these headsets came out. We were talking about, we were all pissed that Oculus had the headphones built in. And that is the biggest non-issue in the world, because I will take the convenience of being able to take the thing off easily over the better sound quality of my
Mic and
expensive
the headphones sound pretty good. Or
You need to fix your microphone before we play Bridge Commander next time.
It was
Bridge Crew.
It was picking up my podcast mic. That's why,
interesting.
Last night. That's about it. Oh, I'm testing the Pico Brew, and we'll be having some beer in the office soon. And a video will be up.
Can we talk about the Jewel a little bit?
Oh, sure.
Do you have time?
Internet hates me because of my Jewel review.
Well, no, so I love that thing. They sent me one. Because,
I love it
Yeah.
too. And I actually did a longer video with Norm a couple months ago. And we lost the footage, and that's why we reshot it. And it was way better, and we used a sharp knife and all that kind of stuff. But I compared it side by side with the Innova, which is really the one to look at. I think the Nomuku is not in there. Sancerre is too big. And I thought the Jewel, I had them both in my kitchen, and I looked at which one I was grabbing more often. And I would just grab the Jewel more just because of its form factor and how quickly it got water up to temperature, which are like two big issues with sous vide machines. Which one am I going to use? People complain about the Jewel, I think rightly so, because it has no analog interface on it, no way of setting the temperature control. You have to go through the app.
Well, and it's Wi-Fi only, too.
You can use Bluetooth.
Oh, you can use Bluetooth now? Okay.
And having it have to be connected to the internet and have to, use their videos, which, take up a lot of space on your phone.
Well, they don't download the videos. They come from the internet, don't they?
No, they
it's
download them
a
local.
3 gig app?
Yeah, it's like I looked because I uninstalled on my thing, and it was something like 600-700 megs on my.
That's crazy.
Oh.
Well, okay, so that's unfortunate. The thing that I like, they're doing a good job. Like, part of the hard problem with the sous vide when I started out, when I got the first Sancerre and the first Lenovo, was that there weren't recipes at all. Mm-hmm. Like, so you had to look at a normal cookbook and then adapt the recipe to use your knowledge to adapt the recipe, and that was really hard. So the fact that the recipes are built into the app was a huge selling point to me. I've started doing other things other than just cooking, like meat and vegetables and stuff like that with it now. I made ice cream custard this weekend with it, which is like, if you've ever tried to cook ice cream custard and had to stir and stir and stir, and you're waiting till it drips off the spoon in the right way, or else the ice cream, and if you don't do that right, the ice cream doesn't set up. It's basically ruined. Like, just putting the ice cream custard in a Ziploc bag and letting it go for an hour is unbelievable and makes making ice cream so much easier than I've ever had before.
Yeah, in the lost footage jewel, I made an eggnog for Norm. Using
he loves eggnog,
and it was delicious. It was really delicious using the sous vide. So I've been using it with other things beyond traditional proteins. Like I don't do that every night. You know, like if I'm gonna get it out on most nights, I'm doing something like fish or chicken or some sort of other protein. But it definitely the Chef Step is better app for finding new recipes that I may use regularly. And the visual interface is great for that first time through. Once you've been sous videing for a while, all that visual stuff you don't need. You just want to hit a temperature.
Yeah.
I've mostly been using the Alexa integration to set my temperature now.
Oh.
And it's kind of janky.
Yeah.
But, you know, I'm like, once you figure out the lexicon for it, you have to use really precise language.
You can always hit just the button. You can always hit the button in the bottom right corner of the Jewel screen.
Yeah.
The other thing that's really good and that my wife actually likes is that it fits in a kitchen drawer.
Yeah. That's my thing about this thing.
Yeah.
Is like it fits places. The Anova's giant.
Yeah, the Anova, my Sancerre they were all big, and I had to put them in under the cabinet with the pots and pans, and it was always falling over and stuff like that. This just fits in the drawer with the other gadgets, and it works really well.
Yeah, I would say when Anova comes out with their $99 model later this year, if that has the same basic power, it's going to be hard not to recommend that.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be half the price, basically. But by and large, I find myself using the Jewel more.
I sent my dad my Sancerre last month because I haven't taken it out since I got the Jewel.
Mm-hmm.
So
I have a review coming out, I think, soon of the Cinder, which is a sous vide grill, basically, kind of thing.
Hold on a second, Kishore. Sous vide means under vacuum.
Well, it's like it's like a precise temperature control grill that heats. It's like a George Foreman that has really specific temperature controls on both the top and bottom plate.
Huh.
And it measures the distance that the plates are separated by the protein in between and uses that to figure out what temperature the inside of the meat is.
My argument is there's some people out there that think they hear this and they say grilling is dead.
No.
Right?
No, I grill 3 times a week probably.
Yeah, but I'm saying if you have a machine like this that measures everything so precisely, it's not about the feel of charcoal and how long do you wait and throw the meat on and
It's never about that. It's always about science.
There you go.
But where does it get? Does it get hot enough? Is it 120 volts?
Yeah, we'll
Am I spoiling?
No, we'll talk about it
Okay.
afterwards. But yeah, like it can get up to it basically has settings that allow you to cook, proteins like 130, 140 degrees typically is what you do.
Yeah.
And then it has you crank it up to 450 to sear off the food at the end.
That's okay.
It was okay.
Interesting.
It just takes up too much space on the countertop and it's super, super heavy.
Does it make a huge? I got rid of my George Foreman because it made an enormous mess.
This is not like the easiest thing to clean up, but it's not so bad. It has ceramic plates and they wipe clean really easily.
Is it grill plates or is it like can you do a
It's
griddle?
flat.
That's actually more interesting to me because like if you could do that for pancakes and stuff like that, it gives you a
can.
really precise surface for making pancakes on.
So I made some grilled cheese that way, and it was delightful.
Yeah.
It just has too much real estate.
How much is it?
It was $600.
Holy!
Yeah, it was
Wow.
expensive. $500-$600 on an Indiegogo.
Have you tested an air fryer yet?
No, I haven't, and I have a big fry party. Wow, this what have we been testing? Has gotten off the rails, but I have in my Amazon wishlist an IR fryer.
So I have a friend who's been telling me the tale of the air fryer for a fairly long time and is a huge convert to it for cooking chickens and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because you can basically the skin fries with the fat
Yeah.
in the under the skin. I'm very interested in it.
I almost added it to the chicken wing party last year, but chickened out. All right, that's about it for the podcast this week. I don't know what's coming up on Tested this week.
I have
Steph?
an HTC Vive Pro audio strap review coming up.
Ooh.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have
Will-
a Cinder review. I think episode 2 of Science in Progress will be out next week, where we look at an artificial kidney
Ooh.
and do some fun things with that. And you're working on a new Bits to Atoms project?
Yeah, well, we are. We're going to
Cool.
hopefully wrap that up next week with Joey.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Will, where can people find you and what are you up to?
Well, we have we're currently in final production on 2 episodes of the Foo Show. We're recording another one tomorrow. We're recording one of those tomorrow. So for production for us for the Foo Show is all happens before the recording, and then most of the stuff that happens after is very fast. So we have one that's recording hopefully tomorrow if everything goes well today. Another one that's going to happen during E3. And a third one that's in the pipe, kind of ready to go as soon as we get that stuff done. And then you can find me on Twitter at Will Smith. I'm streaming PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds kind of a lot. Like, that game is amazing on Twitch. You can find me on Twitch at twitch.tv/notthatwillsmith.
Have you won the game?
I have eaten 2 chicken dinners, Jeremy Williams.
Wow.
Both solo.
I watched one of Will's PUBG streams. It was
Did you enjoy?
pretty entertaining. Yeah. I've watched 2 streams. I watched one with Will, and then I watched one with Will and Gary. That one was not as good.
No.
Are you going to be attending E3?
I'm going to be there on Wednesday morning, I think, moderating a panel about virtual reality in the Novos Theater, I think.
Okay. We might have to chat.
Okay.
Oh,
I need a place to stay while I'm at E3, so I haven't secured that yet. And we're hopefully going to record an episode of the Foo Show while we're down in LA.
Supposedly there's a way to break into Jeremy's place. We just haven't found it yet.
Oh, you just say,
there's
Alexa,
actually
open
no
the front door,
Nope, that is not a challenge.
and then it works out.
No challenge.
We'll be back next week. Jeremy will be in the captain's chair, and we'll have a new guest. But thanks for what's up.
You should do the podcast next week from inside Star Trek Bridge Crew.
We've done a VR podcast
From
Oh,
big
that's right,
screen.
From big screen.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah.
Do we have an outro this week?
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, you want it unmuted, don't you?
Maybe.
We would like to
Who's
hear
it from?
It's from, can you pronounce that for me, Will?
Entomophile.
Okay, I'm going to have to reload this page now. There we go.
You can't just go back? Hi there, I didn't see you. Test it.
My hot dog sucks. Jeremy's laughing at my hot dog.
Did we use that last week?
Maybe. Not hot dog.
No, not hot dog.
Bye.